Good evening, everyone. We're ready to get started. Thank you very much. Good evening. President Carver, Vice President Pack, Board Member Fisher, Superintendent Finch, Mrs. Taylor, district staff, and our room full of special guests. Welcome to our DVUSD Awards and Recognition Ceremony for February 25th, 2025. Tonight we celebrate teams full of spirit, drive, and even some that might be considered true brainiacs. We will start. All season long, the Mountain Ridge Palm team has been preparing to compete at the highest level. Their hard work paid off as the squad won not one, but 2 AIA state titles last month. Their other awards, though, come as a repeat and even a three-peat. For the second time, Mountain Ridge Palm won in the category of open small jazz, but it wasn't enough hardware for the Mountain Lions. The team also earned the most entertaining award for the entire jazz category for the 3rd year in a row. These athletes exemplified hard work, dedication, and true love for the sport. Winning not only 1, but 2 AIA state championship titles this season has been nothing short of incredible. But that's not all. Earlier this month, Mountain Ridge moved on to the United Spirit Association competition in California and took first place in game day all-in-one for the 3rd year in a row. Congratulations to Mountain Ridge High School Palm for your state and national titles. Next up tonight, we move on to some literal brainiacs right here in our boardroom. 19 Mountain Ridge students representing the school's Anatomy Club competed in the 2025 Brain Bee Neuroscience Competition held at Midwestern University's Glendale campus. The 27th annual Arizona Regional Brain Bee is similar to a spelling bee, though instead of testing a student's spelling ability, it is an educational competition focusing on neuroscience. This year's bee featured 75 students from 21 Arizona high schools testing their knowledge of the human brain, how it governs human behavior, and the science that helps medical professionals understand brain function. The Mountain Ridge High School team were all first-timers in the competition. They began coming in after school back in November to learn about the competition and spent many days studying after school in biology, human anatomy, and physiology teacher Jason Prey's classroom, preparing for the competition and participating in mock brain bees. For Mr. Prey, he considered the time leading up to the competition such a pleasure as he worked with these fun and motivated students. It took courage to challenge themselves to compete in this intimidating neuroscience competition, and he's very proud of them. Special shout out to Ridge Brain Bee team member senior Vishnursi Murthy, who placed 3rd overall individually in the competition. Congratulations, Brain Bee state champions, Mountain Ridge High School. And finally, tonight, we recognize an incredible group of the class of 2025. These seniors were recognized as National Merit Scholarship finalists. The selection process involves evaluating substantial amounts of information obtained from both students and their high schools. Included are the finalists' academic record, course load and difficulty level, depth and breadth of subject studied, grades and test scores, the student's essay, demonstrated leadership and contributions to school and community activities, and the school's officials' written recommendation and characterization of the finalist. The pool of students is narrowed to 2,500 finalists nationwide to compete for one of the National Merit's $2,500 scholarships. Winners are selected by a committee of college admission officers and high school counselors. This year, DVUSD is proud to recognize 13 National Merit finalists representing 4 of our 5 district high schools. First up from Barry Goldwater High School is finalist Kavi Badwar. He had this reflection on being a National Merit finalist. Being named a finalist is an acknowledgement of the hard work and practice hours that I put into the exam. I remember when I received my score, I was overjoyed that I had met my expectations and more. The feeling of achievement has pushed me throughout, yet that time it felt even better with a tangible result. I prepared through utilizing past papers and free study websites. Overall, it was just through a ton of practice, and I appreciate the path it has led me on. Congratulations to National Merit finalist Kavi Badwar. Next up tonight, representing Boulder Creek High School, is finalist Ben Heiner. Ben's principal, Brittany Sutton, had this to say about Ben and his accomplishments as a Boulder Creek Jaguar. Boulder Creek is overjoyed and so incredibly proud of Ben for becoming a National Merit finalist. As he is recognized tonight, we wanted him to hear some words from his teachers about his success. Ben excels in his AP Literature class. He is a leader as well as one who encourages his classmates to be the best they can be in their thinking and learning. Ben is a role model for others and always strives for higher levels of success. It is an honor to have Ben in class. Ben is incredibly hardworking and dedicated in AP Environmental Science, as he is always prepared and helps his groups with labs. As Ben's AP Statistics teacher and track coach, I am 99% confident that the interval from 48 to 50 seconds contains Ben's true 400-meter time, and that his hard work in the classroom will pave the way for many successes ahead. Congratulations to National Merit finalist Ben Heiner. Next up are 2 Sandra Day O'Connor Eagles soaring to National Merit finalist success. The first of these students is Lennon Hammond. Lennon's school counselor, Tracy Heath, had this to say about Lennon's work at O'Connor. Lennon is an extraordinary senior at Sandra Day O'Connor High School. Beyond academics, Lennon is deeply involved in the musical theater of Anthem, where he teaches an improv class and holds the leadership position of senior ambassador. As first chair in our wind ensemble, Lennon's musical talent is undeniable and his creativity shines through as a composer and writer. Lennon is in the top 1% of our senior class and is not just academically gifted, he possesses a rare blend of wit, friendliness, and leadership that makes him a joy to be around. He is creative, as shown through his love of theater. He is witty, as shown through his love of improv. He is brilliant, as is exemplified through his grades, class rank, and newly minted National Merit finalist. Lennon is a standout student in all ways. Sandra Day O'Connor High School is so proud to have Lennon as a student, and I look forward to his future accomplishments. Congratulations to the National Merit finalist, Lennon Hammond. Our other Eagle is not with us tonight, but we would still like to recognize Lila Manfredi. O'Connor counselor Holly Gillespie had this to say about the incredible student that Lila is. Her dedication to academic excellence and leadership, both in and out of the classroom, makes her a standout student in our district. Lila is currently ranked in the top 8% of her class, a testament to her hard work and perseverance. She's also demonstrated exceptional aptitude in her advanced placement courses, earning a perfect score of 5 in all 5 of her AP exams. In addition to her academic achievement, Lila recently placed second in the National HOSA competition, excelling in the nutrition category. This accomplishment speaks to her commitment to health sciences and her future aspirations in the field. Lila's ability to complete and succeed at a high level is a reflection of her intellect, discipline, and passion for learning. Lila's achievements are a source of pride for our school, and I believe she represents the very best of our student body. Her status as a National Merit Finalist is the culmination of years of dedication, and I'm confident she will continue to make significant contributions to both the academic and health science communities in the years to come. Congratulations to Lila Manfredi. Moving on, we have 9 Mountain Ridge Mountain Lions who earned the title of National Merit Scholar Finalist. As we bring up each student for their individual photo, we ask if you could please stand to the side of the dais and we'll take a group photo when we're all done. First up, and I don't believe he's here today, is Maheen Bhatt. Maheen had this to say about the honor of being named a National Merit Scholar Finalist. I'm honored to be recognized as a National Merit Finalist. This achievement means a lot to me and reflects the hard work I've put in over the years. I'm grateful for the support of my teachers and DVUSD who have helped me grow and reach this point. It's a reminder to keep pushing myself and striving for more. I'm excited for what's ahead and thankful for this opportunity. I don't believe he's here tonight again, but congratulations to National Merit Finalist Maheen Bhatt. All right, making his second trip up the stairs this evening, Pravneet Chodrat is our next Ridge student to be recognized tonight as a National Merit Finalist. You may have recognized Pravneet from his repeat appearances at recent board meetings for his accomplishments. He was honored as a Flynn Scholar Finalist, a member of the Brain Bee State Championship team, and most recently for his National Merit Finalist distinction. Pravneet had this to say about being recognized as a National Merit Finalist. It's an honor to attend this governing board meeting, not only for the Brain Bee, but also being named a National Merit Scholarship Finalist. I feel it is a testament to my hard work and dedication throughout high school, and I'm looking forward to continue making a large impact in my community during college. Congratulations, Pravneet. Next up is Anjali Chosky. Is Anjali here today? I don't believe so. We unfortunately do not have a write-up for Anjali, but believe I can speak for everyone and safely assuming it's awesome. So congratulations to Anjali. Moving on, we have next up is Will Dana. Will is very honored to receive the title of National Merit Finalist. He is proud that his hard work is paying off and would like to thank his parents for supporting him through his academic success. Congratulations to Will Dana. Next up is Dayuthi Haror. She had this to say about her selection. I'm really grateful to have been selected to be a National Merit Finalist. I've put a lot of effort into both my application and the individual parts of it throughout high school. So receiving this award has really solidified how my hard work has paid off. I would like to say thanks to my parents and my friends for all the support that they have given me throughout this journey. Her counselor had this to say. Dayuthi is a star student at Mountain Ridge High School. She has consistently taken and excelled in many of the most rigorous courses on campus, leading to her #1 rank all throughout high school. She participates in several clubs on campus, including the Asian Cultural Awareness Association and Cybersecurity Club, but the club most important to her is the Choir Club, where she serves as the treasurer. She loves singing and the community of people she has met. She's also contributed to the culture of campus as a freshman mentor, helping many new freshmen navigate the intricacies and challenges of high school. It's exciting to see all that Dayuthi has accomplished while in high school, and I look forward to seeing all she will accomplish in her future. I don't think she's here today, but congratulations on becoming a National Merit Finalist, Dayuthi Heror. Moving on is Eric Potts, is our next National Merit Finalist being honored tonight. He had this reflection after learning about his finalist distinction. It has been an incredible honor to be a finalist for the National Merit Scholarship. I always try to give my best effort academically, so I am grateful to be recognized in this capacity among so many of my brilliant peers. I feel proud of this accomplishment, and I thank my supportive family and the amazing teachers who have helped me along the way. Congratulations, National Merit Finalist, Eric Potts. Good. Next up, representing Ridge, is Kyle Prentice. He had this to say about the recognition. Reaching finalist status has been the culmination of my efforts throughout high school. I am glad to have succeeded in this because it will expand my opportunities in college. Congratulations, National Merit Finalist, Kyle Prentice. Although he's unable to attend the ceremony tonight, we wanted to recognize Kashik Venkatesh, our next Mountain Ridge National Merit Finalist, for his efforts and give him a chance to share his thoughts. He said being named a National Merit Finalist is an incredible honor and a milestone that reflects years of dedication, curiosity, and perseverance. This achievement is not just a personal accomplishment, but a testament to the unwavering support of my family, teachers, and mentors who have encouraged me throughout my academic journey. Walking into the PSAT, I never imagined I would be standing among other National Merit Finalists, but one truly never knows what they're capable of until they take on the challenge. While I regret that I cannot be there in person, I am deeply grateful for this recognition and the opportunity to be part of such an accomplished group. Congratulations to the National Merit Finalist, Kashik Venkatesh. And our final Mountain Ridge student we are honoring tonight is David Zhu. He gave this play-by-play account of receiving the news of his selection. There's my finalist letter, I thought to myself as I opened up my National Merit portal. For quite some time, I'd been anxiously awaiting news, desperately hoping to find out just where my application would get me. After being caught somewhat off guard by the fact that I'd become a semifinalist, I'd resolved to try out my hand at the application process. Over 90% of semifinalists end up as finalists, my brain kept reminding me. You have a decent shot at getting it. As I opened up my letter that day, I felt relief, not just because I'd indeed gotten it, but also because I had finally had the closure I'd wanted for over a week. Congratulations, National Merit Finalist, David Zhu. Can we now have, yes, yes. Can we now have all the Ridge National Merit finalists come on up and we'll take a group photo? And then Akavi and Ben stand by. We'll do a District 1 afterward. Yep. It's just Ridge. Yep. We'll get them all just a sec. All right, Ben and Kavi, come on up. We'll do a District 1. And Lannon, I'm sorry. All right, that concludes tonight's awards and recognition ceremony. The regularly scheduled board meeting will start in just a couple minutes. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call tonight's governing board meeting of the Deer Valley Unified School District to order at 7:08. Let the roll call show that Mrs. Fisher, Dr. Pack, and Mr. Carver are attending in person. Mrs. Simichek is absent. We have Mr. Botfeld on the phone, and Mr. Botfeld is telephonic. Those of you that can, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Thank you. You may all be seated. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
No, Dr. Pack. Sorry. I move that the governing board adopt the agenda with the exception of pulling consent agenda items 6B, 6H, and 6I for separate consideration.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed?
He voted aye.
Is he on? What did he say?
He said aye.
Aye.
Everyone needs to vote electronically. Mr. Botfeld, you need to vote electronically.
I can't vote electronically. My computer doesn't work.
Okay, we'll record for you. Just let us know what your vote is.
Aye. And thank you.
Yeah. But I voted aye.
Passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight's first item of business, item 3A. Dr. Zerbach. I'm sorry.
You want
we
to
do
start with the
first,
motion?
correct?
Would you like to start with the motion?
Yes,
President
I
Carver?
apologize.
Okay.
We need a motion. 3A. Click on the screen.
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation for the principal of Highland Lakes, Amanda Hicks.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Dr. Zerbach.
Thank you, President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch. It is my pleasure to bring here this evening administration's recommendation for the principal at Highland Lakes, Miss Amanda Hicks. Miss Amanda Hicks has several years as a head principal in a K-8 school. She also has even more years as a teacher in a middle school, which is something that's very important to the staff at Highland Lakes. She's well versed in PBIS, and she has a solid background in professional learning communities. We are confident that she will continue the great work that Principal Mark Anderson and staff have done over the past years, and we are pleased that she is here with us. Thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Moffett, anything to follow up with? Nope. Any discussion from the board? Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Botfeld? Dr. Pack?
No.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to visit with you earlier this evening with the rest of the, know you a little bit better. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Botfeld,
Aye.
Any opposed?
Welcome to Deer Valley.
Welcome to Deer Valley School District. Ms. Hicks, would you like to say a few words?
I would love to. Thank you very much. Governing Board President Carver and other governing board members, as well as Dr. Finch, thank you so much for this honor to be the next principal at Highland Lakes. I am very excited to continue the traditions there and get to know the staff. Thank you so much again for this honor.
Go ahead. You can. Welcome aboard. Item 3B.
I move that the principal position at Sunrise Elementary School. I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation for the principal of Sunrise Elementary School, Michelle Martelli.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Dr. Z.
Seems like there's some bubbling energy that might be over here, President Carver. President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, again, I am pleased to be here this evening as well with Mrs. Michelle Martelli as a recommendation for the principal at Sunrise Elementary School. Mrs. Martelli has learned under two exceptional principals in our system here in Deer Valley. They are both here this evening. She has great experiences and great accomplishments within the MTSS-B system, and we know she'll bring that to Sunrise as well. And she lives in the community, and so she's very committed, and we know that she will be a fantastic principal at Sunrise. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zurbach. Ms. Moffett. Outstanding. All those in favor? I'm sorry, discussion. I'm in such a hurry for some reason. I apologize.
If I
Mrs.
could think
Fisher.
of a really large mathematical problem, I would give it to you, but no, I'm just kidding. You're good.
Mr. Botfield. Do you have any discussion, Mr. Botfield?
I didn't hear the question.
Okay. All right. Dr. Pack?
No.
Again, I'd like to thank you for your time this evening and giving us an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. And we look forward to the vote. Mrs. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Botfield? Dr. Pack?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Welcome to Deer Valley.
Congratulations. Welcome to Deer Valley Unified School District. Again,
We're going to pause for a minute to give you guys a chance to engage and take pictures.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, say a few words first.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am very honored and excited to serve the Sunrise community.
We'll pause the meeting for a few minutes. Everybody can congratulate our two newest principals. Sorry.
So we can all jump on them.
While we prepare to get settled in for the rest, thank Troop 531, Scout Troop 531 for showing up tonight. They're working on their communications and citizenship in the community badge. So thank you for attending tonight, gentlemen. We hope you enjoy. Okay, we'll keep going. Item 4A, Dr. DeMarteau.
Thank you, President Carver, Vice President Dr. Pack, Dr. Finch, members of the board. We are proud to give you our spring update on our board program tonight. I have with me tonight Alexis LaDuca, who is a teacher at Mountain Ridge High School, and Stephanie Eubank, who's our teacher preparation program coordinator. They also serve as our Deer Valley District National Board champions of national boards. So we're excited to tell you a little bit about where we're at in our programming.
Thank you for having us. We're really excited to be able to share about National Board with everybody. It is a phenomenal program that is growing by leaps and bounds in Deer Valley Unified, as well as the state of Arizona, which is really exciting. One of the best pieces about National Board is it's in direct alignment with our mission and core values as a district. And as a whole, it absolutely strengthens educators in a myriad of ways. If you're unfamiliar with National Board, it is a voluntary credential that teachers may choose to do. It's a rigorous process. Only 4% of teachers in the United States have this certification. And when they go through the process, they have 1 to 3 years to complete 4 different components, all of them reviewing and giving an opportunity for reflection on the process of learning, but also looking at themselves as educators and really having that reflective approach. And it's been an absolutely incredible experience for us to help be a part of growing it in Deer Valley, but also seeing that the direct impact it has on teachers. One of the things we really want to always share is our why. It is the highest professional teaching certification that can be achieved. It is absolutely rigorous, so just jumping into the process alone is an exciting process, and it's very inspirational throughout the entire experience. It also gives educators a chance to really deepen their own teaching practices through self-study and reflection. And this was a process created for educators by educators. It's not something that's stagnant. It's continually growing and reflecting. And not only does it obviously impact teachers and what they're doing in their classroom, but research has shown that it really does grow students in their learning as well. Data has shown that students of MBCTs make 1 to 2 months of growth compared to their peers in classrooms that are not MBCTs. So obviously our goal is to grow as many MBCTs as we can, which has been really exciting for all of us. We have some big celebrations. We have been slowly growing our program. This year, we're very excited to have 3 brand new NBCTs. I'm selfishly proud we have 2 right at Mountain Ridge, and we have 1 from New River Elementary. We're very thankful to Dr. Finch and Dr. DeMarteau, who could go and celebrate the teachers. And there's nothing better than seeing the kids get just as excited as the teachers when they're able to get their pennants. We also had 3 newly maintained NBCTs. What that means is that once you certified as an MBCT, your certification is good for 5 years. And then you do go through a maintenance of certification, which is a different process, but it is constantly having teachers look at what they're doing and going through the focus of maintaining that growth alone, which is really exciting. So we have 6 that we're celebrating in the district, and we're looking forward to bringing them to a future board meeting.
Here's the numbers. We always like the numbers to show our growth over the years. When we began our push to increase the number of nationally board certified teachers in 2017, we at that time had 15 nationally board certified teachers, only 2 candidates going through the program. One of them was Alexis. Our goal at that time was to double our numbers in 5 years, which you can see that we did. We went from 15 candidates in 17-18 to 30 in 21-22. But the number you should be looking at is the number on the bottom. The number of teachers going through the process, they're called national board candidates, and you can see we went from 2 to 9 to 20 to 27 to 30. So I don't know what percent growth that is, but it's really high. It's pretty good, I think. So now we're at 24-25, and you can see we have 37 nationally board certified teachers and 23 candidates in the program. So we're really looking, we're growing in the state, as Alexis referred to. Our goal by 2026 is to have 60 nationally board certified. That is a big goal. And to have 40 candidates. So we're well on our way. We're starting another pre-candidacy class coming up. And we're looking to have 50 new nationally board certified teachers at the end of next year. So we're on our way. Thank you, ladies.
One of the fun things to look at when we talk about numbers is to look at it by region, just because, you know, it's just fun to be a little bit competitive and see where we can grow some numbers by region. So here it is by region. You can see that the Mountain Ridge region has 10 total nationally board certified teachers. But Goldwater is fast on its heels with 10 candidates in process. So that's pretty exciting. And then you can see those stars indicate where we're celebrating our new and newly maintained NBCTs. So as Alexis mentioned, there's only 4% of the teachers in the country that have achieved nationally board certified and we really kind of dream of a reality where that number is flipped, where instead of talking about only 4% of the teachers being NBCTs, we can talk about 96% of teachers being NBCTs. And while we have kind of this global vision, we know that we have to act locally. And so as we're growing this network in DVUSD, you can see that we're actually ranked 8th in the state for the number of NBCTs and 5th in the state for the number of candidates. So we're really excited about that process that we are supporting our candidates through, and it's paying off dividends for our numbers, but also for our students, which is really why people do this, right? So how has that happened? You can see over the last year, since the last time we met with y'all, there's been a lot of things that we've done, but some highlights that we're particularly proud of was that in June at the National Board Leadership Academy for the state of Arizona, DVUSD was showcased as a leading cohort in Arizona. And that's pretty exciting. And some of the things that we contribute that to is our extensive candidate support, the way that we have candidate support meetings, not only our regular monthly meetings, but also we have 4 Saturday workshops throughout the school year, and that's pretty exciting too. So in order to do all of these things, we need to have some financial backing, and we're really excited to share a partnership with Arizona K-12 Center that helps to provide funding for the first kind of round of attempts at each component. And then we've also partnered with Discover and DVEF to allow our network to survive and thrive. In fact, one of the things that we're really proud of is that our network is self-sustaining. Because of our connections with these community partners, we're able to pay for all of the things that we do in our network, all of the support that we provide, to be able to support our coaches and incentivize them to be involved in our network, but then also to be able to cover the financial needs for our candidates as they're working through the process. So where do we want to go from here? We have our pre-candidacy class that's starting this week, actually, and we are excited to be working on 9 new potential candidates through that process. But we're also looking to grow our network and be able to provide more support for those candidates that are in their maintenance of certificate phase, and then also to tap into our third-year teachers as they are going into that 3rd year of the profession, that we start to kind of get in front of those teachers and talk to them about the national board process as they look to refine and perfect their own practice. So with that, we will open it up to any questions that you might have.
Mrs. Fisher?
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for what you do, supporting great teachers. No profession is successful without continuous learning, continuous training, and setting a bar of excellence. And I believe over the years that is what you have done. I do appreciate the work you do.
Mr. Bodfeld, do you have any comments? Thank you, sir. Dr. Pack?
I just want to say congratulations to everybody that's gone down that path. I understand teachers get a teeny bit more money for doing it, but it's certainly not for all the effort and time. But putting those letters after your name, it's got to feel so good. So congratulations.
I want to thank the leadership for helping to develop such a successful program where our teachers are truly emulating the concept of lifelong learners. Leadership by example, right? We want our children to be lifelong learners, and the best way to do that is for us as parents and educators to show them what a lifelong learner looks like. So I commend the leadership for creating an environment where our educators feel the desire to continue their education. And so thank you for all that you do, and thank you for all the teachers who get out of your comfort zone and keep going, because you've already gone a long way just to become a teacher. So to take that next step, you should be commended for that. So thank you. Next up on the agenda is item 4B, Career and Technical Education, CTE report. Dr. Galligan.
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, guests. Tonight, Jamie Fitzpatrick and her team in Career and Technical Education will share updates and celebrations for our students and the program itself in Deer Valley.
Good evening, President Carver, members of the governing board, Superintendent Finch. We are excited to join you tonight to share our program update. It is still February CTE month. We've got a few days left, and share with you all the ways that we're investing in our future workforce. Tonight you'll see some snapshots, highlights, and lots of data about our programs. So I have with us here tonight our team from CTE. Again, Jamie Fitzpatrick, Manager of Career and Technical Education, joined by Debbie Kidwell, Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Specialist, and Shauna Chia, Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Specialist. Pictured here, you see our law enforcement students from Barry Goldwater High School. This was a work-based learning experience that they had at the Arizona Department of Public Safety. Career and Technical Education provides students with the academic and technical and professional skills, preparing students for high-wage, high-demand jobs, strengthening our local economy, and increasing student engagement and graduation rates. So our first piece of data we bring to you is our enrollment. This is our 2025 enrollment across campuses, totaling up to 5,675 students in our seats, up considerably from spring of 24. And you can see the distribution among our campuses. And then on the ends, you can see students that take an online course at Aspire, and on the right are students that are taking courses at a Westmec Central campus. So key thing here is that the majority of our CTE students are sitting in our campuses at our 5 high schools, participating in programs that are 3 to 4 years in duration. This one shows the distribution of students across programs. 4 of the 5 top enrolled programs are designated by the state of Arizona as high wage, high demand. That data is put together by the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity. So you can see those fields like business, IT, healthcare, construction. Those are some of our top enrolled programs. And the fall enrollment across all programs and all campuses is the student data that you see here. So this comes from the data that we gather from our student information system and report up to our CTED and our state. Looking at our partnerships with Westmec and some of the data that we gather, graduation rates, CTE students tend to graduate at a higher rate than students that do not take participation in a CTE program. So you can see there, DVUSD cohort of 2024 had a graduation rate of 90.1% for CTE concentrators, which is defined as a student that takes 2 or more CTE courses. Our students last year in our programs across DVUSD earned 1,100 industry credentials, and our students at Westmec campuses 511. That's one of the metrics that we use and that we're accountable for, is that our students are earning those stackable industry credentials, and many students do earn more than one. If you are looking at the numbers of programs that we offer across the district, you can see on the right that we offer between 8 and 13 programs across our campuses. The number doesn't necessarily measure quality, because some programs have particularly large enrollments like culinary arts or marketing, versus other programs that tend to be more boutique programs like law and public safety. Our Spire, we offer 5 year 1 programs, so students can get a flavor of it online and then move into the brick and mortar campus to complete years 2 through 4. Westmec, we're now offering 36 programs for high school students and then 7 adult programs. So even if a student comes to the party late as a senior, they can still enter one of those Westmec adult programs. And then serving our 3 middle schools with 4 career action labs that are of 3 true middle schools. Additionally, with our partnership with Westmec, we do have our accountability. We just completed our TQI, Total Quality Indicator Site Review, at Sandra Day O'Connor High School. in January of 2025 with a score of 97.45% out of 100%. And then beneath that, you can see the schools that were evaluated in 2024 and 2023. The rigor from 2023 through 2025 has gone up as they've changed the tool, and some of those pandemic measures were a little bit easier for students to attain back in 2021 and 22. To the right, with our partnership with WestMec, we've got the different ways that WestMec supports us financially. Starting at the top with our general allocation, which is the money that our taxpayers vote to be a part of WestMec, and all the things that we use that for, such as our administrative salaries and our special programs and so forth. We have equipment grant, which is dedicated to putting specialized industry standard, industry aligned equipment in our classrooms. Supporting our career and technical student organizations, you do get to see those students and those celebrations a lot. None of that would be possible without the funding that comes from WestMec to be able to support those students to compete, to travel, and to have the things they need to be successful. Our industry certification grant as well, WestMec supports us in being able to provide those industry recognized credentials to students. Those come from vendors such as Microsoft, Adobe, Certiport, State Board of Nursing, and so forth. And our students are able to gain those at no cost. Where post-high school, if they were out at a post-secondary institution, they would be paying for those credentials. And then lastly, our specialized grants, which funded programs, new and innovative programs such as our Ed Professions expansion, our CTE Ambassador program, our support for starting up the Construction Technologies program this year as well. In addition to our funding and quality and compliance with WestMec, we also have the same with the Arizona Department of Education. On the right, you can see the 9 quality and compliance indicators. Our programs are measured by those, and that is every 5 years. So we are coming up on our fall 2025 quality and compliance monitoring, which will encompass all programs, all campuses. Back in fall 2020, we had gone through this process as well. 100% of our programs achieve compliance and achieve the distinguished quality ratings. So we do have high expectations going into fall of 2025. With that, that is accountability towards our CTE Perkinson priority funding, which is our federal and state funding. And you can see what some of those things that are supported there on the left. And that includes salaries and benefits for things like our data specialist, our clinical nurse, our paraprofessionals. It supports professional development, professional travel for our students or staff, transportation as well for students when they attend career development and career and technical student organizations. Also includes professional services, repair and maintenance of our equipment, supplies, both consumable supplies for instruction as well as capital equipment, things like culinary arts kitchen equipment, our nursing lab, our computer labs, our school-based enterprises, and all the great things we've got in our new construction lab. I'm now going to turn it over to Mrs. Kidwell.
Good evening, President Carver, VP Dr. Pack, Dr. Finch, and Governing Board. Pleasure to be here to talk about the exciting things that CTE is doing with the amazing and astounding teachers who work endless hours to help our students. So you'll see pictured there, and this is very exciting today, our students from nursing services are actually engaged in clinicals right down the street at Honor Health, Deer Valley. They're having a great experience. We heard from our nursing instructor who's there that it's the cleanest and most wonderful place she's ever had the chance to be. So that's a very exciting way for them to start their clinicals. They do work 40 hours in a clinical setting if they are non-dual enrollment and 48 if they are a dual enrollment student. We also have exciting things going on with our early childhood education program. Those programs are very vibrant and active at 2 of the 5 high schools, and students in those programs are teaching often. In fact, I walked out yesterday from last week from Boulder Creek High School, ran into a parent who was speaking the accolades of the student teachers that come in from early childhood education and interact with our daughter. We also have a lot of very exciting student-based enterprises on the campuses. Student stores are very active before school and during lunch. Most recently, Mountain Ridge had a very successful Valentine's Day promotion where they were able to brighten the days of about 50 people with special packages that they produced out of the student store. Avenue 27, I hope most of you have had a chance to experience the wonderful opportunity to see the service and the culinary delights that our students and instructors prepare there. A really unique one is at Sandra Day O'Connor with Eagle Ink. That vision to produce a facility that serves not only the campus but the entire district with printed t-shirts and other items such as stickers that are popular is a great opportunity for students to get that hands-on learning. Some other things that are going on, a very exciting development at Barry Goldwater. They now have a large format printer that does wraps, and so they are basically wrapping the whole school with beautiful graphics that are really brightening that up. Spudwagon over at Deer Valley High School is a unique experience where they actually have a kiosk that pops up at lunch, and the students get a chance to experience a different variety of lunch with a stuffed baked potato that comes with all the toppings. Probably most exciting though is our video production, because that allows our administrators, our athletic departments, and really everything on campus to become vibrant and alive through announcements and videos that can be shared with the students and create that energy and culture on those campuses. Some other unique things that are going on right now this week, if you have a chance, get over to Deer Valley. Matilda will be featured in the theater department. Stage production is a program that we have. We start every year with an interesting experience, which is required as part of our indicators, which is to hold industry advisories. So early in the year, we collect names from all of the stakeholders, including the teachers, of people who could come together and share the most current industry trends. You'll see some of the trends up there. Obviously, advanced manufacturing, chip manufacturing, those are very high on everyone's minds. But some other things are actually coming to play as well, too. And we can never leave off the emphasis of professional skills, because that is what our industry partners tell us is one of the most important things they want our students to leave with when they come into employment or into post-secondary education. So in particular, this January 6th, we had a great opportunity to bring together people from the Office of Economic Development, TSMC, and Banner Health, as well as a few others. And some things immediately emerged out of that, which have helped our teachers continue to grow and expand the opportunities available to their students. So our partnerships are rich. We're always, of course, developing them and working more on them, but just a couple recent highlights. Mayo Clinic has offered an opportunity to our nursing students for them to actually participate in mock interviews and be hired for positions immediately following their CNA certification. Sun Construction came in, worked hands-on with students to help them learn about floor framing. These are the kinds of things that are bringing true work-based learning to our students. And you'll see in the next slide that we have a continuum that we work with that's advocated by the Arizona Department of Education, which begins with awareness, flows into exploration, then preparation, and finally participation. Our teachers are offering 120 hours of work-based learning experience over the course of their program. The students track that in our platform called Major Clarity, which is a district platform offered to grades 7-8, all grades 7-8. And this allows the students to really begin to develop that profile, that portrait of a graduate that we hear so much about, that will compel them to be able to qualify for unique employment opportunities, scholarships, internships, and basically a successful life in a high wage, high demand, or highly satisfying career. I'd like to introduce my partner and colleague, Shauna Chia, and she'll tell you a little bit more about some of the pathways and the things that are going on at TE.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. I think it is now. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I have the opportunity to share with you some highlights that we have in some of our pathways that I oversee. We have business and marketing, communications, media, education, training, and law and public safety. One of the highlights that I wanted to share with you is we had an award winning teacher in our Ed Professions program, Heidi Moya at Mountain Ridge High School. She won the ACTE Arizona Teacher Community Service Award for her extensive work for over the past 5 years. Her education profession students have been doing a book drive that has been very successful with a lot of books that she is able to share with the community. Our CTE students are getting the opportunity to talk to employers firsthand at our hiring events that we had one last week at O'Connor High School, and we had about 18 employers there that were really eager to talk to our students, and our students learned a lot about different careers that they might not have known about before they talked to some of these employers. We've had people from Arizona Department of Public Safety, Marriott hotels. We've had people from the water park. I can't remember the name of it right now. Hurricane Harbor, sorry. And we just had a variety of different employers, City of Phoenix, City of Peoria. They were all there to tell our students about the opportunities that they could have working for them. Some of our work-based learning highlights that I'd like to point out on this slide is our digital community are collaborating with the Valley Vibe news publication. That's a community local publication. They approached us at one of our parent events where they wanted to have some of our students do some writing for them. So that's pretty exciting. Our Mountain Ridge Film and TV students are going to be attending a family lunch and learn with Arizona Family Channel 3, and they're going to be able to explore more about the broadcasters. Our graphic design students are selling custom designs like Ms. Kidwell had already mentioned. At our Goldwater tour that we had provided some parents from the PTO lunch, or it was breakfast or lunch. We toured the school and they were super impressed with all of the things that Ms. Kidwell mentioned all over the campus with the murals and the stickers, and they're actually going to do some business with our graphic design students at Goldwater. Our O'Connor graphic design students, like Ms. Kidwell already mentioned, they are producing t-shirts. They had a huge order for CCV, making some shirts for that organization. And our Goldwater Law and Public Safety students, they're providing event security at all of their campus events with our students. And our students also are in that program. There's 2 of them that are interning with the Department of Public Safety. At Boulder Creek, we have our finance students that are actively tracking stocks in real time with real information from the stock market. And the teacher every week, he posts the top 10 investors, and it's a pretty big deal on the Boulder Creek campus having the students hear their names on the announcements that they're the top winners. So we have some industry certifications that were already mentioned that are stackable credentials, and so I'll just kind of mention things to note about each one. Our law and public safety students can earn 5, which is quite a bit, and they have a 99% pass rate on the technical skills assessment that ADE has our students take every spring. So some of the stackable credentials that we might want to mention are they could be certified unarmed security, and they can also have a psychological first aid certification. Our education and training students, they can get 3 credentials, and they have a 93% technical skills assessment pass rate, and they can actually become paraprofessional certified before they leave the program. So they are able to be hired here for some of our paraprofessional jobs. Our business and marketing has 3 credentials. They can become Microsoft Office specialists. And our communications and media technology, they have 4 Adobe certifications depending on what software they're learning, and they have a 90% TSA pass rate. And go ahead.
Some of the highlights from our STEM and health professions programs. College credit impact. The growing advanced placement programs in computer science at several of the high schools is really helping students to step out and build opportunities in that high wage, high demand area. I would like to celebrate in particular our Air Force ROTC students who recently competed in the ASU LEAPS Infrastructure Design Challenge. See if I can get all those words out there. This was where they tackled an infrastructure issue, and they had to make a report out to the commander. The really astounding thing is that they were all able to earn a $2,000 scholarship as a result of participating in that. That means that 6 students won this semester, add 3 from last semester, a total of 9 students as a result of participating in that event were winners of some great scholarships to help their future. We work with dual enrollment. The sports medicine and marketing and nursing services programs all have dual enrollment courses aligned with each semester in the program, which means that I love to call it double dipping. The students are actually completing what they need for high school. They're getting those stackable credentials, and on top of that, they're leaving with college credit. ECTE, or early CTE, has been a big emphasis this year. We have our CTE student ambassadors, which Ms. Fitzpatrick mentioned was funded by WestMec in our startup. And that program has allowed us to go into the K-8 and middle schools, teaching, participating in STEM events. Next week we have a career fair if you'd like to stop and see it at Constitution Elementary, which was spearheaded by their counselor. We hope to have quite a few students there talking to younger students and families about the opportunities and careers that are out there. So building that literacy with students when they're in K-5 is also an emphasis as well. Would like to also mention that if you haven't heard that at Mountain Ridge we have a bioscience biomedical program. It's a 4-year program, and it is a very rigorous program through PLTW, preparing students for secondary study. And Boulder Creek has been recognized by the Helios Foundation. They are a member of the ASU Impact Corp. That recognition goes to schools that they consider to be a bright spot in public education. And my last invitation is please come next week to the Innovation Center on Monday the 3rd. We are having our first VEX robotics competition with engineering students, and they look forward to showcasing what they've been learning the last quarter on robotics.
Thank you, Ms. Kidwell. In effort to save time, we have some data here that you can peruse at your leisure. Pathway highlights from some of our other programs, including our medical programs, our STEM and technology programs, as well as our student organization successes to date. Lots of fun data, seeing all of the medals, trophies, and smiling faces of our CTSO students. So again, all of that information is there shared for you. If you haven't captured it yet through social media, you'll be seeing our students throughout the spring. So we'd like to invite you to learn more at dvusd.org/CTE. And opportunities for campus program tours. If you'd like to contact Mrs. Taylor, she'll work with our department to set up a tour of any of our campuses with you. You can judge at our state competitions. Just reach out to cte@dvusd.org and we'll get you those links to sign up or to attend an ACT-AZ professional development event. So at this time, we'd like to offer you the opportunity to ask any questions.
Mrs. Fisher.
I don't have any questions. You guys do a great job. CTE is our future. Even when we go to other events, I mean, some kids will be the super one side, but overall, our society is run in CTE. Even in my own work, I may do my core work. I also build things and project manage and this and that and things that I never learned in my degree. I learned firsthand from working and doing, and that's what CTE does. So your work is vital, and I just want to say that I very much appreciate what you do for our students.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher.
Mr. Botfeld?
I have one thing to say about the last 2 presentations. Very, very impressive. Thank you.
Dr. Pack?
I just want to say, as a former FBLA president in high school, Deer Valley, it's amazing that CTE has now become this huge umbrella with these student organizations just growing and expanding. So thank you for everything that you've done, and kudos to the students that are involved.
That was a boatload of information in a very short period of time. You guys are doing an amazing job. I did have two questions though. When we were talking about overall participation, what would be our percentage of increase over 24, same time period? We had a slide earlier that showed
yeah,
us.
so about 10%.
About 10%, okay.
District-wide.
And I might have missed it because we were going at a rapid pace, but was building trades listed in the list of CTE that we offer, and where did it fall?
Yeah, it falls under Barry Goldwater High School under construction technologies, and the construction technologies encompasses 4 trades, which includes carpentry, plumbing, electrical, and masonry.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase my question. There was a graph that you showed that showed the amount of participation from left to right, right? And from most to
Yes,
least?
and that was last year's data. That was last
okay,
spring's
thank you.
data, which we just started construction this year. So yeah, that was fiscal year 2024 data.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate all you guys do. Mr. Miglorino, thank you for showing up tonight. That wasn't meant to be derogatory. We're always happy to see you. What do you have for us tonight, sir?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, we do have the Budget Committee report to share with you this evening. Trying to see, my computer actually died. And the presentation's not there, so you know, this is always awkward to be able to go after, you know, Dr. DeMarteau and Dr. shared all the good information. We're going to share information about budgets and challenges and all the fun stuff that comes along with it. So I did want to recognize the committee that actually helped with the budget for the budget recommendations for next year. Here are the members. We weren't able to fill every slot. I think there were 2 or 3 positions that weren't able to get filled. Several of the members from the committee are actually in the audience this evening, and I wanted to thank them for enduring 3 evenings with me, which is, as everybody knows, you know, a testament to their at least commitment to the cause. And as a reminder, I know the Budget Committee is not new, but the objective or the stated objective of this committee is to develop a recommendation of the budget priorities for the upcoming fiscal year. We did have 3 official meetings. We also, as has been the case in previous years, we did have 2 surveys that we completed. The first meeting, we went over School Finance 101 and the Deer Valley Unified School District's financial position. The second meeting, we actually got into a little more detail regarding comparative data for the district specifically, and we took that second meeting to develop the forced ranking survey, which was administered between the second and third meeting. The third meeting was to analyze the forced ranking survey data and develop the recommendation itself. From the first survey, we had fewer responses this year than we've had in the past, maybe on a factor of a half as many responses, and you can see exactly how that works out in terms of the makeup of the participation, with the parent of a student being the majority of those that filled out the first survey. In that first survey, we asked 2 questions this year. One was a budget area that should be preserved, and one area that can be a consideration for an adjustment for next year. A kind word of saying, you know, maybe a reduction. From that, we had the parent preservation options, included making sure that staff compensation was a top priority. Also, important interest around class size or student to teacher ratio. Safety and security was on the top of their list. Special programs were mentioned a lot, and full day kindergarten appeared. Remember, these were open-ended narrative questions, so not a whole lot of structure to that. On the employee preservation side, there was a lot of comments regarding compensation, and the second most priority was class size and staffing, maintaining the staffing levels that we have. On the reduction side, class size and teachers, again, was commented again not to reduce that, but to make sure that it was emphasized. Administrative costs were identified with some specifics within the narrative comments themselves. A fee structure around some of the programs like extracurricular activities and sports, and then reducing facility improvements or technology deployment were areas that were mentioned for reduction. And there's an overarching emphasis that to protect the teaching staff and student support services in the district as a result of that first survey. The second survey is the forced ranking survey. You can see again here the makeup. We had a little bit more responses, almost 1,600 responses from this, also down from the previous years, which I don't know what to attribute that to because we actually provided more time to take the surveys this year. And that's what this information looks like. I do want to give credit to Dr. Smith. I don't want to blame him for anything. He just crunches the numbers for us and does an awesome job compiling the information and even developing a heat map so that we can kind of look at that quickly. Really, the way to read this is if it's red, it was important to them. If it's green, it was something that had less of importance to them. So class size was important, school safety is important. More important than, for example, the professional development or building improvements, just to name a couple. There were 9 actual options on the forced ranking survey, and I've ranked those due to the average scores on the key at the bottom of this slide. So starting with school safety and ending with professional development in terms of the priorities. We also looked at it by group. So was there any difference between employees versus parents? And I will say from doing this a number of years, there was much more consistency amongst the groups this year than there was in the past. I will just make a comment that the other category only had 11 responses. And as a result of that, some of that data could be a little bit skewed just because of the small sample size. And then we looked at also what were their top one, looking at their number 1 responses or their top 3 responses. And again, we really didn't see anything that was differing between how we dissected this information. So it really didn't change the ranking that I showed you on the previous slide. There was also a narrative section of the forced ranking survey, so one last time, and we did get 446 narrative responses of those almost 1,600. We used some AI tools to be able to summarize this just because it was an open-ended narrative question. Oddly enough, oddly to me, I'll say, 4-day school week showed up frequently. School closures and consolidation showed up on the list. Administrative and district office cuts showed up. Teacher salaries and benefits, more along the line of preserving that. Program reductions, looking at maybe even some increased fees for services that we provide that are outside of maybe the core areas. And the transparency with community involvement was mentioned. Support for gifted and specialized education, professional development, technology resources, and then there were some additional points regarding mental health support, class size and teachers in general, and then facility maintenance. But I think at the bottom of this slide, overall comments reflect a strong desire to prioritize direct classroom impact, maintain teacher compensation, and make strategic cuts at the administrative level to address budget constraints, kind of summarizes what those narrative comments were. We also included this through a separate AI tool. I'm not going to read all these to you. It really says about the same. Just wanted to see if there was a difference between using different tools within the same data set. Again, nothing that's, I think, different than what we looked at from the Microsoft Copilot AI tool. As a result of that, the Budget Committee came up with this recommendation. So in light of the financial circumstances for the upcoming year, the FY26 Budget Committee recommends the following priorities with the objective of minimizing the direct impact to the classroom. And these are in order: maintain salary and benefits, continue to enhance student and school safety, including social and behavioral supports, maintain the student to staff ratios, de-emphasize professional development opportunities, consider fees to continue programs. Further, the Budget Committee identified that a focus on community outreach and communication is necessary to have a more informed community. I'll just make a comment here that there were many of the narrative responses that we received that were inaccurate, but they were people's perceptions. So the committee thought it was important for us to make sure that accurate information could be provided to the community. But finally, the committee also stated that seeking the continuation of the 15% M&O override is needed for the long-term financial well-being of the district. And I'm going to insert a joke here, and I'll preface that in advance. I think it was because I threatened not to be able to lead the Budget Committee if we don't have the override next year. But that was, again, obviously my attempt at humor there. But I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Mrs. Fisher?
When I look at this, the presentation of it, I'm trying to follow the logic and why it's presented the way it is. I tried to pull numbers out to see kind of where they would add up. Trying to look at, you know, in one of them we have 1,101 votes. And then the top priorities that we list are 10%, 4%, 3%, 3%, 2%. So that means 77% are not representative in that list based on the numbers that I'm seeing here. So, and the only reason I ran it that way is because I had an inquiry of why are they showing us that? That doesn't make sense. And I'm trying to make my own sense of it. So I really think there needs to be, I need to get a better idea of what it is our public actually wants. Because when I look at 77% not represented, but 10% is the top, I don't think that's accurate. I think it's just a presentation. Same thing when I look at the force rank, and you go kind of straight line. You have 1586, which results in 1540 that ranked for the top, leaving 46 that wouldn't have. But then when you put it as an overall, technically I should be able to divide that number by 9 because each individual gets 9 since they rank 1 to 9. It's confusing, so I understand why I'm getting the questions I am. What I don't understand is why our community is not being brought in. I don't believe that an override will pass, even just an override by itself at this point. And it not because they don't want to support our schools or support but because they no longer trust us. And when they look at information like this, that's what they're telling me is, can you make sense of this because I don't trust it? And in some ways I can, in some ways I can't. When I see the areas, when I see, suggestions like a 4-day work week, we considered that in 2008, when I was working in the industry. It's not a significant savings. When we look at student activities, that's an unrealistic area for the district to cut, considering students mostly pay for student activity. That's a very small saving. Now, balancing a budget will be on small savings. what I'm reading when I look at these comments is that just kind of an overall gist is that they want to know, and emails and correspondence that I've also received from teachers, from parents, of why are you looking to reduce here? Have you bothered to look at, and they list whatever list of areas. I think we need a more expansive what this actually looks like. I understand that when we first established the committee, the request was that the committee would eventually develop to the point where we would be able to throw up numbers, see what a cost savings, what is 4-day work week, what is that going to change? What's that number going to look like? And build the budget based on that. We have our musts. So when we're building a district budget, we start with our staffing, because basically our staffing is it. Our staff are it. So we start with our staffing, and then we look at what's left. We look at what's left is being applied, and we see where we can preserve, but our staffing's first. And that was the initial intent of the budget committee, to get to where we're throwing up numbers. We come up with a comprehensive plan. They then join in with NST, who's doing their side, and then it comes together as a comprehensive plan. But it's never developed past suggestions. Suggestions are great, but unless you can attach a number to them, they're not relevant. In my current job, when I look at the budget, anyone else in my position for another organization would look at water and go, what's the cost of water? For me, I look at water and go, I got rights, I don't care. It doesn't cost me anything. And I build my budget against those knowns. I'm a little concerned that we have scattered suggestions without a comprehensive look at our budget. And I think we need to have a serious study session, starting with what is our staffing? How can we preserve what we don't even have? And our public needs to see that too. This is our staffing. I think their jaws will drop when they see what the staffing looks like. And I'm not saying people's names. I'm not trying to pick on anyone. I'm talking about overall. I appreciate the work. I know it's hard to rally the troops, especially to look at budget. Face it, we bore people when we talk about money, unless we're giving it to them. And we don't bore them. The rest of the time, we bore them. They don't want to look at our small numbers, but my concern is I don't think this gives I don't think it gives our community a comprehensive idea of a direction. And that's the sense I've gotten. That's what my constituents, and even some of the people who flat out hate me, have called me up and said, okay, I get it, I don't like you, but what is going on here? What is this? And I'm like, come to the meeting and speak up, because I can't. I think we have to come together, and we're going to have a comprehensive direction. The only thing this tells me is that our community, our employees, and our parents all agree that we need to maintain our staff. We need to maintain, and I say maintain class size because in the 10 years that I've been up here, we've begged to reduce. In good times, we begged to reduce, and it's never occurred. That bubble seems to never pop. I'm terrified if we go up 1 or up 2, they're stuck with it forever, because that bubble never pops and we never make that adjustment the other direction. And it's not just Deer Valley, that's all districts. So I really appreciate the work, but I just think for the sake of our community and building a budget, we're going to have to get serious about digging into the details together with our community and our staff to make any of this meaningful. It's just my opinion, but I do appreciate the work, because I do know how hard it is.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Mr. Botfeld?
First, thanks for the work. It's hard to do. Second, the margin of error in your questionnaires would range between 2.5% and 4%, which is pretty darn good. Third, nice job, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Botfeld. Dr. Pack?
First of all, thank you for all the work you've done, and I'm very visual, so seeing the pictures with the colors and the heat graphs, that's helpful. I do also agree that it might be really hard to push forth an override soon. I feel like if some time had passed, maybe the community would be ready for that, but it's still too fresh in everybody's minds about needing money in our own families. So I'm concerned about that. Also, I did take the survey, and I'm a doctor, and it was confusing. I had to read it twice. I'm like, wait, 1, 9, most you want to reduce, but not? And I did have several people reach out to me saying their link wasn't working, and then I know it was sent out again. And so I feel like a study session would give us real hard numbers, face-to-face conversation, an ability to ask a question if I didn't understand personally whether I was supposed to click 1 or 9 and reduce the class sizes, or we don't want to reduce that. And so bottom line, we do not want any more students in our classrooms. It's you can be the best teacher in the world, but you have too many kids, it's crowd control. And so while I see that on this recommendation, it's to maintain student and staff ratio, later in our agenda tonight, there's going to be something, a preview for an MOU about adding 1 or 2 more students in each class. And 1 or 2 can just push you over the edge as a teacher. And we want to keep great teachers in our classroom, even our nationally board certified teachers. Too many kids is too many kids. So I'm worried about that. I feel like a study session could let us dig a little deeper. I do appreciate that the survey did show looking at cutting and reducing and compacting perhaps some district spots to then take that money and put it directly into the classroom, hopefully. So I feel like we're on a good start, but I feel like we need to dig some more and get some open dialogue going amongst the board members in the community, and also all the experts in the accounting department. Thank you.
Mr. McLaurin, I want to thank you for all the hard work that goes into this on a regular basis. My biggest takeaway, and I'm not trying to be cynical here, but did I see that it was like about 1,600 respondents? Okay, so my unfortunate takeaway from this is that's less than 10% of the adults that have children that go to this district, that work in this district, that participate in this district. What I would really like to see is more input from the community. We're letting the tail wag the dog. We read in that report that the people that took that survey believe that things like the Mandarin immersion program should be done away with, yet we've got a substantial number of people in our district who are pounding on the door on a regular basis, decrying how we need to make sure that we do not eliminate the Mandarin immersion program. So if I've learned one thing since being involved in public service, is that for every decision you make thinking you make one stakeholder happy, you're going to upset at least one other stakeholder. More takeaway that I get out of this is that our district and the people that manage it on a day-to-day basis have proven regularly that this is the best financially run district in the state. We spend less money per student on administrative costs than any other district compared to us. Not to say that we can't save some, but I'm afraid that, again, we're letting the tail wag the dog, and that some of these fantastical things that we hear on the night media or by those people that would seek to get their 15 minutes of fame, that we're allowing ourselves to be sidetracked by the freak show at the circus, so to speak, instead of actually taking the time to learn and educate ourselves as members of the community as to what's really going on. I believe that the Budget Committee is doing a good job of having a lot of community input in the committee, but for some reason, for all of the excitability that we have in our community, we can't get people to figure out a survey so that we can get good numbers, which is disappointing from my point of view. At the end of the day, 90% of this community is going to allow 10% of this community to make all the decisions. And so I would encourage people in the community to take these surveys when they come out, because this is the information that's going to be used to give us the way forward. Again, numbers are what they are. You know that, Mr. Miglerino. That's the life that you live and the job that you do, and the results are what they are. And we're going to need to use that information to steer us going forward. But I hope the community saw that the people that took this believe that the best way for us to save money is to charge for full day kindergarten, charge for extras, get rid of a lot of the special programs that so many people come to our district for. So those unintended consequences, we just need to make sure that we're aware of what we're asking for. And I'm not opposed to a study session. I just think that we need to understand what it is that we're going in there for. If we're going in there for awareness and for the community to voice their concerns in a more public forum, then that would be a great thing to do. And I'll stop at that point. Thank you, Mr. Miglerino. Appreciate you. Yes, Dr. Finch.
I just wanted to thank the committee as well, because this is the budget process, and thank Jim and his team. They've been working on it for months. Part of the since we have chosen this process and been using it for years, the whole point is to gather information, and when we gather that information, whether it be a bunch or not a bunch, there's usually a variable in the equation. What causes that? I think the variable was that we lost the bond in the override. And so people are not excited about the forecast, financial forecast for Deer Valley, and they would be correct. We do have to cut about 20 million, so something has to go, and that's the tough part of my job, is deciding which one of the bad decisions we have to make. If you looked at the forced ranking survey, really what it was a reflection of the actual language in the override. Those are the items that were in there. So, and that's really that's where $11 million has to be cut, in theory. You mentioned all-day kindergarten, you mentioned class sizes, you mentioned these different things that were in the override that we lost. So it would be logical that we would cut everything that is in that list, because that's what the community said, and that was hundreds of thousands of people voted on that. So in theory, you already had your survey, and the survey said, get rid of these things. And so our job, my job as superintendent, is to recognize what hurts the system and which would be detrimental in the long run. So 11 million is only phase one. We're going to do this twice if we don't pass an override soon. And if we wait, that $11 million problem becomes a $22 million problem. That's just on the override side, and becomes a $33 million problem the following year. Enrollment's another variable. That's where I'm coming up with the 20 million for this year. We don't know what our forecast is for enrollment. We think we'll beat the demographers numbers. We beat the numbers 5 years in a row, so I'm predicting we will do it again. But we need for it to be already on the conservative side. So that's where that number's coming from. So the budget process is the same one that we've used since at least 5 years. We've been doing it this way, and what the reason why we do it at this schedule is because now contracts are required to be out by March, right after we get back from spring break. That's the new state law that they just sprung on us last year. So it's all a part of the process, and it's all related to time. So each thing is, you'll be getting the budget process or the budget recommendations from different committees. NST is another one that's working and have been working for months to get to here to bring you this recommendation. So, which has community members on it, has employees on it. These different groups are cross sections of our society. So I just want to encourage you to have faith in the process. This is what we do for a living, and and I'm comfortable with the work that they're doing, and I just want to make sure that we don't forget that this is all tied to timelines and with the state and with our contracts with Deer Valley obligations.
One more thing. Jim, was the committee, did you guys review the efficiency study at all that was done in 2016-17? Has that been a consideration? Before you even answer that, I just got to say, this has not been our budget process. You know, I was talking with board members that I've served with in the past, and the one thing they told me is how sad they are that our community and our board has been removed from the budget because we're the ones who are responsible for the budget. In fact, there's a state law that's being passed, whereas board members can actually get thrown out of their seat and never be able to run for office again for not having oversight of their budget. This is not a budget process I have ever seen in any district. I have never seen this, and I want to say that, but we did have an efficiency study. Has that been considered at all or reviewed or updated in any way?
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, no, it was not a consideration with the Budget Committee.
Okay, so we're not considering efficiency. We're not considering the community. We're not considering the board who is responsible ultimately. I'm sorry, but we are heading the Isaac route really fast. And I'm very concerned that our community deserves to have input in what is going to be into their budget. Because it is theirs, they're paying it. So what are we going to be teaching our kids? And they want to know that our teachers are going to be held. Like I said, start with our staffing, and then we need to look at everything else as a potential. And without any board input or community input, I just don't think that the district's going to make it. We can't have a room of 10 people make the decision and expect 60,000 people to pay for it and say, okay, no problem. It's not going to happen. That's just my opinion.
Mrs. Fisher, we're all in agreement. We need more people to participate in the process. Item 5A, old business. Dr. Pack, do we have a motion?
I move that the governing board approve instructional calendars for school year 2026, 2027, and 2027, 2028.
Do we have a second? We have a presentation to follow up tonight.
President Carver, members of the board, no, we remain with the presentation we shared at the last board meeting. Thank you.
So if I remember correctly, our choices are 7A, 7B for the first school year and choices 8A, 8B for the second school year. Does a board member have a motion on which we have to give specifics?
Karen, do you want to just add the specifics to your motion?
Yep. I move that the governing board approve district instructional calendar options 7A, 7B for the school year 2026-27.
It's got to be either or.
President Carver,
what is the
members of the board, we recommend calendar 7A and 8A for the 26-27 and 27-28 school years.
Thank you, Dr. Callaghan.
Understood. Thank you. I move that the governing board approve district instructional calendar option 7A for school year 2026-2027 and option 8A for school year 2027-2028.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Any discussion?
I just have one question. This is the first time ever that I have received no comments, no don't do this to us, no one direction or the other. Has anybody else shown any upset? I mean, everybody seems to be fine with it.
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, we have not heard anything after the board meeting.
Y'all must have done a good job because this is the first year it's never happened before, but I got no kickback on it at all.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Botfeld?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Consent agenda. Dr. Pack?
Okay. I move that the motion I move for the motion to discuss and vote on each additional item separately. I move that the governing board approve consent agenda with exception of items 6B as in boy, 6H as in Harry, and 6I as in iguana, as voted during adoption of the agenda.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Botfeld?
Aye.
Aye.
Has it popped up? There it is.
Mrs. Taylor, as a point of information, when do those items get discussed? Dr. Pack?
All right, I move that, excuse me, I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the human resources changes, as well as the list of part-time limited non-renewal continuing certified staff who do not have continuing status in the 2025-2026 contract year per the certified and negotiated agreement.
Do you have a second? Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I just had a question about one of the items on that section of our agenda this evening, the teacher wellness coordinator. I did read the description of what that is. I would like to know more about how many teacher wellness coordinators we have and what degrees or training they have. What schools specifically have them besides the two that were listed on this evening's voting platform?
Vice President Pack, excuse me. This is the first year that the campus has initiated that position, and they are using title funding for that position, and it was approved this year. You'll notice on HR changes that 2 different people are fulfilling that FTE, so they are the only 2 at that location, and that job description, excuse me, was approved earlier this year.
And what's the ratio of teacher wellness versus student wellness?
On that particular job description, I'm not sure. I would have to check that for you.
I believe it was at a particular high school. Is it only at that high school because there's only 2 of them and they're both at that high school?
That is correct. They are the campus that requested to develop that position with the funding that they had because they saw a specific need that was reviewed in cabinet, discussed between ALS and Human Resources, requested again by administration at that location. It was approved and they filled it with those 2 different people.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Mr. Botfeld?
Mr. Botfeld?
Aye.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Dr. Pack?
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve Dr. Curtis Finch, Superintendent, Jim Migliorino, Deputy Superintendent, and Tracy Rockwell, Finance Director, as authorized signers for all written agreements, contracts, and Jessica Leisure, Purchasing Director, as authorized signer for purchase orders for the 2024-25 school year, and removing Laura Simonowski as a purchase order signer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. This passed years after years without ever pulling it off. Every district I've ever worked with has had this. My concern is that that not all contracts, not all agreements, the board isn't even privy to what is being signed on our behalf. And I'm a little concerned. Is there any way to get some kind of assurance of what exactly is being signed? Because I know even, people have brought to me more so on the legal side. They'll say, well, look at this case, this happened in Deer Valley. And I'm like, I never heard of that. It's not, that's never brought before the board, or that never occurred, or, and so that's when I saw that there was a change. Is this limited to, does this have any limitations? And Jim, you would be the one that would know, because I know it generally goes through your office, but is this so broad that we're just, there's zero oversight within it? Or is it specific contracts?
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, yeah, there would be limitations to this. There are some things that do require board action for us to sign them, and we would bring them before the board. But items of typical operational procedures would not come to the board. We do have a list of the contracts that we do sign. We have a process and an administrative management guideline that we share with our staff. Because we do also allow schools to enter into agreements that are less than a $10,000, which is the procurement threshold, and so long as they don't have indemnification language, which we do require to review before they enter into them.
Okay, so is this exclusive to procurement, or is it other? Because I know we do have other contracts that do come before us. Is this exclusive to procurement?
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, what is being revised here is specific to the change of our purchasing director retired in January. The board approved her replacement at the last board meeting. So what we're asking here is just to replace the name of what the board has already acted upon for Ms. Leisure to replace Ms. Simonowski. The other signers, that has been the standard practice of the district in my 20 years being here.
But I mean, the change is reasonable. I would ask that when we bring it back for the annual, that we have a little more detail and take a look at it. I just want to ensure, because ultimately the board as a collective is the ones that are responsible. And I want to ensure that what is being signed in our name, that we are at least aware of. And so I'll vote on this one, but I think when we bring it back for our annual, that we need to take a look at it and make sure of what we're signing. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Botfield. Any opposed? Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Dr. Pack?
I move that governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the fiscal year 2025-26 general statement of assurance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
For the community, because I have had multiple inquiries in the last couple days on this. This is another standard item that does come before all boards in all districts, has to be signed in blue. I mean, it's federal regulation in a lot of areas. The concern that was brought forward, and honestly, I agree with the concern based on a statement in the Friday update. This is for a lot of where our federal grants are. Our federal funding, we're agreeing that we will comply within all of those regulations. Some of them are more narrow than others. We're agreeing that we're going to stick to it, and I'm a little concerned with a response that to the executive order regarding DEI, that we're just going to not do anything and wait it out for the next administration. This general statement of assurance, once the board votes, says, I assure that we are going to follow these federal regulations. The expectation is that we are overseeing that those regulations are actually being followed. And so that's why I pulled this one off, because I think it's important that the board have some sort of assurance that when we say our staff is going to follow these rules, and I prior to that one statement, I don't have any reason to believe that our staff does not follow it. Federal funding is so restricted, but that funding is on the line with some of these executive orders, and like it or not, if we don't follow it, our tails will be in trouble. So is there a way that we can get some sort of assurance that we are going to operate within any new executive orders that are coming down?
Dr. Finch?
If we don't follow the orders, you don't get the money. It's pretty simple. So we will be following all federal regulations that are required, as we always have.
So are we going to address the DEI concerns?
Yep, we are on top of that. We are meeting compliant. We are compliant with all regulations on DEI, just like we were with CRT. We're following all the regulations that we need to.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Botfeld?
Aye.
Mrs. Fisher?
Nay.
Aye. On action item 7A,
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
I have a second. Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Action item 7B.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve a revised job order contract, JOC, with Skyline Builders for Head Start additional classroom project at Sunrise Elementary School through Omnia contract #ACON 20722A.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Miglorino, do you have any information or presentation for this piece?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, just very quickly, the board previously approved a building addition at Sunrise back on March 7th, as is indicated in the information in the board packet. And the federal requirements, there's a federal grant that's funding this particular project, required that the building not be permanently built at the site. It has to be built off-site and then brought to the campus. Lots of details around this that I'm just going to skip forward to today. This would actually now meet the federal requirements and what's being proposed this evening, and it would significantly increase the cost, I will admit. But it will allow for us to expand the program, the Head Start program at Sunrise School in doing so. I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Can you explain to the board and the community the cost factor, where the fund's coming from for this?
President Carver, yes, the funds are coming from, it's a federal grant that is in which the awardee is the city of Phoenix, and the city of Phoenix is awarding us the funds to pay for the building.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Miglorino?
I do have a question.
No? You do?
I do.
Okay, sorry.
The funds, it's a grant given to the city of Phoenix, and the city of Phoenix works with us. I noticed on the paperwork it says it does not include, or it excludes permits and architectural and engineered drawings. Is that going to be a cost that's going to pop up at our expense, or can you explain that exclusion language?
I apologize. I did not mean to interrupt you. President Carver, Dr. Pack, that's common language in the provision for the contractor, and those are typically secured by the owner of the property, which would be us. So yes, there may be a cost associated with all of those, but all of those costs are going to be incurred by the Head Start program.
Do we know how much ballpark that would be?
I do not have an estimate for what that would be.
And the requirement of the grant to build what I would call portable offsite and bring it here, is that tied to that particular grant? Because we have schools with empty spaces. Could we not have Head Start in some other empty buildings? Or is it each grant different? Or is every grant for Head Start require a standalone portable building?
It has to do with the federal requirements for the arrangement for the building to be on our property. So it has to do with the duration of or the term, if you will, for the building, how long the building would last. And there's not a provision in this particular federal grant for it to be a permanent building. It has to be a building that's less than a certain number of years, and has to be because of the duration of I'll call it the construction easement for the actual property. All of that was previously approved by the board. This is now just the building.
Thank you.
Mr. Migliorio, when you say that the ancillary cost would be the burden of the Head Start program, can you explain to the community and the board where the funds for Head Start come from?
President Carver, the Head Start funds, there's a combination of resources that fund all of the Head Start programs, but a lot of it comes from the city of Phoenix, a partnership that we have with them, and then we have some dedicated funds that we have towards the program as well. But I would say, I don't want to hazard a guess on a percentage, but I would say that all the entities contribute financially to the program.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion from Mr. Migliorio?
I just want to know, so basically we're buying a mobile home, essentially, and putting it on the lot?
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, it's actually a modular build.
Okay.
It'd be built off-site and set in place at the Sunrise campus.
On a slab?
Yes, on a slab.
I don't know if it's a comment, but I don't know if it eases anybody's mind. These grants are very common. We had them on Glendale's elementaries. 2 of our schools had them. They were very highly beneficial for us, and the fees that we had to incur were nominal compared to the grant.
And we had them in Deer Valley High School when I went to high school for SAGE. So.
Yep. That's all.
Any further discussion? I'm sorry. Didn't mean to.
No, I just said thank you to Jim.
Okay.
That's all.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Bodfield?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Moving on to not preview. Item 7C. I get a motion.
I move that the governing board accept the emergency procurement report outlining the need to move the 2025 high school graduation venue from State Farm Stadium to Desert Diamond Arena, and approve the emergency procurement purchase to AEG Management LC.
Is there a second? Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Migliorio, do you have any information for us on this different than what we've?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, just very briefly, I think the board is aware, I think maybe even some of our community is now aware. Unfortunately, the contract that we have with State Farm Stadium does allow the provision for them to not honor the dates that they had previously provided to us for graduation, but they have been working very collaboratively with us to find an alternative. It happens to be right next door at Desert Diamond Arena. So the board had previously awarded the contract for the company that oversees the State Farm Stadium, SMG Global, so that was met the procurement requirement. There is no provision in the procurement code for a substitute vendor, hence the need for the board to consider the emergency procurement. And quite frankly, this is probably the only venue that would actually be able to host our graduations and still be on the west side of town, I'll say. So I think a point of clarification, just to make sure it's publicly known, SMG is not only collaboratively working with us, but they have ensured us that there will not be any additional cost to us above and beyond what it would have charged. We would have been charged to have the graduations at the State Farm Stadium, because there are some costs associated that they will be picking up for us to be at the Desert Diamond Arena. This is only for this 1 year, and it happens to be for an event that they need to set up. They need the stadium to be able to set up for a large event that's happening not on the same days of our graduation.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Migdorio? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Preview item 8A, Dr. Smith.
Excuse me, President Carver, members of the governing board, it's my privilege tonight to preview the certified performance pay plan for school year 25-26, which is next year. I do have a little bit of detail in here. I'll try not to take too long, but I decided to include the detail for the newer board members, and we'll be more than willing to answer questions at the end. Does this thing work? Thank you. Just a quick overview of what motivates this, the performance pay plan. If you remember back in November 2000, Prop 301 was passed, and which created a 0.6% sales tax, which was dedicated to public educations, and these funds were distributed to school districts on a pure per pupil basis. Just as a reminder also that this expired at the end of 2021 and was modified and renewed in 2020 and modified and renewed by legislation in 2021. The plan used to have 3 funds. Now there are 2 funds, Fund 11 and Fund 12, which are referred to as the base salary and the certified performance pay fund. I had slight maybe misinformation on this page. We have it divided as 60%, 40%. That's how we used to divide it. I think by legislation, we are not limited to that 60-40 anymore. However, we still currently divide it 60-40. But do have the flexibility to change that. The other thing that happened in 2021 is we added some certified eligibility for some certified staff members, for example, in student support services or other professional services, to participate in this classroom site fund performance pay. So that's a real quick kind of motivation. I would like to shout out to the performance pay committee members. You can see here we have 4 teachers, 4 school administrators, 2 parents, and Miss Christy Bushnell and myself facilitate the meeting. There's a charge of the committee as described on our website. Is basically to develop and manage its performance pay plan, making sure we include any all state law and relevant board direction, and then to manage the plan so that we can execute it and communicate it with all the proper data and make sure people get paid, and then hear any appeals that are associated with the plan. We do have norms in our performance pay committee. The big one is that we make decisions by consensus. We get all to support the decisions we make, and then we all help implement those decisions. Basically, the committee is influenced by three major things: the plan history, legislation, and board direction. I'll briefly look at each of those. Plan history, this year's performance pay plan is very similar to the plan we've had for several years. It's made up of three components, and they're split and calculated separately, but basically we look at teacher evaluations, which is 50% of the plan, responsibility / professional development hours, 25%, and the district letter grade component is 25%. So that would make that plan is kind of a basis for what we use when we start talking about a new plan, and it has been that way for several years. So that's the history component. A legislation component, then here's where a little bit of the detail comes in. I'll try not to spend too much time on this, but you can see the statute 15203 requires that we have a framework for teacher and principal, for that case, evaluation, which includes those four measures of performance: highly effective, effective, developing, and ineffective. And I mention that because we also have subsection A of statute 15977, which says that this component of the plan cannot be used to supplement, shall supplement and not used to supplant teacher compensation. Sorry, I'm going to get to this teacher evaluation component here. The reason I mentioned the evaluation in the first statute was because 15977 subsection B used to say that the individual teacher performance shall be used as a component of allocation. When it was renewed, this component was taken out, so we're not required to use a teacher performance in there, but we often consider that as an important piece. The committee does, and includes it in the plan. The other big piece of this subsection is why we're here tonight previewing this, and we'll bring back for approval later, is that you, the governing board, must adopt this performance-based compensation plan. Here's the thing in the statute that are other plan items that should be included. In subsection C, they list these 12 items that the governing board should vote on performance pay based on these items. You can see there's many items in here, including a teacher vote, 70% vote by the teachers. There's parent ratings, student ratings. You can read them all yourselves. We do not include all of these items in the plan because we leverage subsection E, as do many, if not, I'm going to say most, and I'm not going to say all school districts across the state leverage this board discretion to modify the plan that are contained in subsection C. We have looked at several school districts around us, including Peoria, Paradise Valley. I think Madison was in there, and I think one of them tried to use all the components of subsection C. The rest of them were very similar to us. They used some components, but the board allowed them to modify their plan. And the final piece is that if we don't spend all the money in the plan, which we do attempt to spend all the money every year that we have allocated to the classroom from the classroom stipend for performance pay, we do try to spend all that money. But if you don't, then you have to keep the money in the plan and you roll it over. You have to earn interest on it, et cetera, and spend it in the following year. So that's the major motivation. You saw the history, you saw the legislation. Tonight we're looking for any board direction. That's the other piece that impacts the plan. But I do have a proposed 25-26 certified performance pay plan. We as a committee met on February 10th. It was a pretty productive meeting, I think. We did have full participation. 100% of the committee members were there, and we had a very good discussion, and we're here tonight presenting the board preview. The plan we're submitting is pretty much the same as the 24-25 performance pay plan, 50% evaluations, 25% hours, and 25% based on school letter grades. I will do just a little bit of detail here. The evaluations, we score standards 1 through 6 from the teacher evaluation, and we assign a point value to highly effective, effective, developing, and ineffective. And then we take the average of those, and we get a score somewhere between 1 and 4. And you can see if a teacher gets between a 2.8 and 4, they would get 100% of this portion of the plan. 2.6 to 2.79, 85%, et cetera, et cetera. If they are below 2.4, they would not get any of the evaluation component. So this is where it's important to remember the components are evaluated independently, and we do them one at a time, and a teacher could get paid for one component but not the other components. The other important item here is the ineligibility. Teacher becomes ineligibility, again, for this component only if he or she receives 4 or more developing ratings or any ineffective rating on their evaluation. These are just some quick examples of how a teacher might be rated and what their final score would be, their average score would be, and then what the payout would be. So here you can see a teacher that got all effectives 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 would have an average of 3, and they would get 100% of the payout. As a matter of fact, they could have had a developing in that and still get 100% of the payout. You see in teacher example 3, if they had 2 developings, they would drop below the threshold for 100%, but they'd still be in the 85% threshold so that they get 85% of that 50% of the plan. Responsibility and PD hours, very similar. You've seen over for several years. It's 25% of the plan. We're asking for 20 total hours of either professional responsibility or professional development. The big thing is it has to be logged outside of the normal work day. You cannot be compensated for these hours. You log them with your principal. You and your principal agree on the hours that will be counted. There's a template that's actually developed by HR and is on the HR portal page, which is easy to access. Teachers and principals can access this. And at the end of the day, this is a yes or no component. Either you did the hours or you did not. I don't know why I put that last point on there. The whole thing is prorated for time and job and FTE, but including this component. And finally, school letter grades. This piece of the plan, this 25%, is driven by the percentage of schools with a B or higher letter grade. I need to clarify that we would not evaluate every school independently and award these funds based on each school's letter grade, but we look at the letter grades as a district, and we say if at least 70% of them are a B or A, B or higher, then the teachers would receive 100% of this payout. By definition, all teachers receive, as long as they're eligible for performance pay, all teachers receive the same amount for this component based on the matrix you see there for the payout. The caveat for this component, or something to remember for this component, is this causes 2 payouts. We know the evaluation in hours at the end of the school year, so we can pay that out in early June. We do not know the state accountability letter grades until the state has finished their calculations, and we get all that information, and that will occur obviously the following fall, the following school year in the fall, and it's been as late as mid to late November in the past. A couple other components to the plan. There is an appeals process specifically for the evaluation, and this is the employee can appeal their evaluation if they believe there was a procedural breach. There is a form to submit that appeal. There's a time frame for them to submit that appeal, and then the appeal is reviewed by an appeal committee made up of 3 certified members and 2 administrators from the Certified Performance Pay Committee. The other components, letter grades and the hours, are not appealed. Letter grades are obviously finalized by ADE, and there's no appeal for that process. Also, ineligibility, I mentioned this a little bit. We mentioned that you could become ineligible for just the evaluation component. There are some items that would cause you to be ineligible for all of the performance pay, and they're listed here. 1 formal level of discipline, termination or separation in lieu of formal discipline, non-renewal for inadequate classroom performance, or if they do not complete their contract or abandon the contract, they become ineligible for 100% of the certified performance pay. And I mentioned this also earlier, the prorated, we do prorate based on your time and job and your full-time equivalent. And those are basically straightforward. If you were in your job for, if your FTE was 0.5, you get prorated for 0.5. And as a matter of fact, maybe going back to the hours, you would also only have to do 50% of those 20 hours. Higher date is a little trickier. Basically, if you work for 3/4 of the year or more, you're eligible for 100%. Half the year to 3/4, you're eligible for 75%. And a quarter a year to half, you're 50%. Less than a quarter year, you're not eligible. I do take into account FMLA and leave of absence into this to make sure we do not penalize employees for FMLA when they go out on this for their time and job. I do want to mention this is a brand new slide in this presentation, so pay attention. We did have some additional discussion in our committee meeting, and I mentioned earlier for the letter grade component that it causes 2 payments. So for several years now, teachers have received a second payment the following school year because we only know this after school letter grades. And so we had a long discussion about is there something that could replace the letter grade component with some other indicators, some student performance, school performance, district performance. There were some good ideas for things that might be used to replace that. And at the end of the day, though, they said we really need to see some data on those ideas. We have brand new assessment systems with our NWA and iReady data that might be used. They have growth data in them that might use that we could replace these with, but the committee would want to see some history of that and how well it really does align to the state testing. The other component that came out in that discussion is a couple of teachers on the committee, and one of the administrators said teachers like getting that paycheck in November because they got Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. So we don't even know whether teachers would want us to change it or not. We don't know exactly if we can change it, but we'll continue to have that discussion in the committee. Sorry for being long-winded. That's pretty much what I have for you tonight. I'd be willing to answer any questions. And we'll be bringing this back for approval at the next board meeting.
Any questions for Dr. Smith?
Just a quick question. What percentage of our Deer Valley teachers hit that 2.8 to 4.0 and receive that 100% pay? How many?
President Carver, Dr. Pack, if you allow me to get close to it, because I don't know the exact percent, but over 98% of the teachers receive 100% of this performance pay.
Thank you.
I just have one comment. I want to thank you for explaining the state assigned, the school letter grade, and your last slide, because that historically has been very important to the boards, that all teachers are honored. Even when I saw it initially, I was like, wait a minute, we fixed this years ago. And then when you explained it, like, okay, yeah, that's how we fixed it. So it's really important that all of our teachers get recognized regardless of their individual schools grades, because some of the grades with the lower grade are just they're harder. It's harder to teach in that area, or they have greater challenges, and we always wanted to make sure it was even. As far as your last slide, the new slide, if there's a growth factor, something like that, and if the teachers want it, because honestly, it is kind of nice to get a little bump. That's one thing that we try and do with our staff is give them bumps around the holidays, because it's kind of an important time. So it would be great if we could find out what all the teachers feel on that and get a majority, of district overall data. But if there's a growth factor or something like that, it might be better, because this has always been a sticky point. But I do thank you for explaining it very well, and for maintaining that correction to honor all of our teachers.
Mr. Botfeld? Sorry. For now?
I'd like to ask Sue Petrowski to come up to the microphone, and I will be reading this. Admonition: the board invites public comment on the district's business in general and on any agenda item specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic and hand it in to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Please state your name.
Sue Piotrowski. Good evening, President Carver, Vice President Dr. Pack, governing board members, and Dr. Finch. I am here tonight to speak about the preview item 8A, the Certified Performance Pay Plan. Please consider modifying the plan component for professional responsibility, professional development. This piece of the plan requires that the certified group volunteer 20 hours in addition to their primary job responsibilities to qualify for 25% of their performance pay. As presented by the committee, there is nothing in the law that mandates this of our teachers. This requirement can place hardships on teaching parents that have to pay for childcare, employees that have second jobs, and teachers that want to spend their non-work hours with their families. Additionally, other employee groups, including classified and exempt 4, exempt employees ranges 5 through 9, and even the superintendent do not have to have this 20 additional hours of volunteer time in their performance payout plans. Please consider reducing this part of the plan to 1 hour of professional responsibility or professional development for the coming school year and eliminate it as a component moving forward. The fiscal impact will be $0 as this money is already allocated by the state. Our teachers work hard. Please honor their time by giving it back to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to preview item 8B. Dr. Finch.
These are the recommended, we'll get them up on the screen here for you in a minute. The recommended board meetings for next year, they're similar to our current year. There is one note, the Veterans Day falls on our Tuesday around November 18th, so that's, we moved it to, or I was on there like the 11th? Yeah, I think we had to move it to the 18th was the best one, best option for us because of the difference between October and December. We kind of split the difference, so we're recommending that we do the 18th and try to stick to the Tuesday concept. So you could remember Thanksgiving breaks in there too. We went through a couple different options, and this one seemed to make the most sense because of time. It kind of splits up the two differences between October and December, since we have one meeting in July, one in November, one in December. So by moving to the 18th, that probably made the most sense. So, and again, this is your schedule, so you can modify it if you'd like, but that one probably makes the most sense. And this is obviously just a preview, so go home and chew on it and see what you think. And if you have a better idea, let us know, and we'll adjust.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. Any discussion for Dr. Finch? Seeing none, move on to preview item 8C. Mr. Miglorino.
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, we do have the employee benefit recommendation for next year to share with the board this evening. And I know that a couple of the members that were on the committee are actually or they started with us. I think they're still here. Wanted to acknowledge them for their time working on what has ended up being a little bit more of a challenge for us due to a couple factors that we'll cover in the presentation itself. Here are the members excuse me, that were that served on this committee. That was led by our Director of Payroll and Benefits, Ms. Chris Costanzo. The committee did meet our work team, I should call it, it'd be more correct, did meet 4 times this year. Traditionally, that's been 3 meetings. It took us a 4th meeting this year to get through everything. I think just to kind of paint the background for this group, the current experience ratio, so how much claim dollars we're seeing be expended this year, we're currently running at 108, 108%. January alone was 118%. Just to kind of illustrate that, if for every dollar that we reserved in premiums, we spent $1.08 in claims so far for the first 7 months of the plan, and projected with the medical inflation and the target for minimum reserves, just as a reminder, is 25% of the annualized premium. So that we are in excess of that with the $20 million, but we did look, just to help illustrate this point, we had reserved $24 million worth of contributions for Valley Schools this year. We had $17 million worth of claims through December. So if you were just to extrapolate that for the next 6 months, that would be $34 million worth of claims for the year against $24 million worth of contributions. So we had a burn rate of almost $10 million if everything, tracks the way it did the first 6 months. I don't think that it will, to be honest with you, but it could also get worse, right? I don't think it will, just based on history, but it's things that the work team did look at. We also, as you'll see, the maximum out of pocket has not changed since 2014. That's important because it's one of the areas that we looked at addressing for this year. And I've provided here a 6-year history of the benefit recommendations. So we have enjoyed a couple years back in 2021 and 2022. We had a 0% renewal. Those are easy to facilitate. Then we saw a small increase in 2023. By the way, it's not a coincidence. Those low percentages were around the COVID pandemic years. But then you can see a pretty sharp uptick in 24 and even a bigger spike, as I've already mentioned, 11%. But you can see kind of our strategy for the last, I'll say, 3 years is the majority of the burden has been spent on using the reserves, the build up of reserves to help offset the increasing cost. I have cautioned the group that doing so will create a cliff of need at some point in time. We either have to adjust the plan or adjust the contributions. We can't just rely on the reserves because there's nothing replenishing the reserves except the contributions that we're sending to Valley Schools. With that being said, this is the recommendation that the work team developed. Again, 11.1% or $3.12 million is the renewal for the benefits next year. To cover that cost, the benefit work team is recommending $2.26 million of that come from reserves for next year. The balance coming from dependent coverage. So our underwriter has kept the rate degradation or between the different tiered consistent. So there's a slight increase for those with dependent coverage. As you can see there, on average 11.4% for the PPO plan and 9.4% for the high deductible plan. I think that's important to note. One of the things the work team did look at is additional plan design changes to help reduce the cost of that dependent coverage. But the trade-off was that the plan designs were not seemed as palatable to the employees as the increase to the dependent coverage. So I'm just going to highlight the major changes, not read all of this. Again, I've mentioned it already, but the maximum out-of-pocket is being recommended to be changed from $4,000 for the employee or $8,000 for the family up to $5,000 for the employee and $10,000 for the family on both the PPO and high deductible plans. That's the major change that's included in here. I did want to mention the high deductible health plan deductible amount will need to increase by IRS requirements from $3,200 for the single coverage and $6,400 for the family coverage, up to $3,300 and $6,600 for the family, and that is for it to be IRS compliant for the embedded deductible. So this is a benefit to our employees that have dependent coverage on the high deductible health plan. The other major change would be that our vision coverage would change from currently with United Healthcare to VSP, a different provider. We've had VSP in the past, so that's not relatively foreign to us, but we were going to offer two plans. This is a voluntary coverage plan for our employees, but two plans, a basic plan and a buyout plan. The basic plan would be at a savings to our employees with some reduced benefits. So lenses are only, frames are every 24 months, lenses every 12 months, whereas the buyout plan, which would be, I think, $1 and some change more a month, you could get lenses and frames every 12 months under that plan. So a little bit more expensive, but giving the option for employees. So that's the major change on the other employee benefit side. And then just to note that the Arizona State Retirement System contributions are going to decrease from the current rate of 12.27% to 12% flat, and the alternative contribution rate will also decrease for those retirees that we have rehired. So that will be a benefit not only to the district, a small benefit, I'll say, for both the district as well as for the employees, because remember, the employees match that same contribution. So this is a preview item, which we intend to bring back for the boards to formally decide on for at the next governing board meeting, which would allow us to then start the process for the employee benefit open enrollment and not have that coincide with the end of the school year, because there's so much activity around the end of the school year. We try and keep the decisions around their benefits prior to the rush at the end of the school year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Miglorino?
A couple. The claims, did we have any like specifically high claims, like certain areas? You know, preemies, an uptick in cancer or an uptick in elder care, or?
Yeah, President Carver, Ms. Fisher, we do look at the claims analysis, actually, and specifically our high-cost claims, those over a certain dollar threshold. And in fact, the number or frequency of those high-cost claims is actually going down, but the cost of coverage is just going, or the cost of the claims, all the claims, including the high-cost claims, but all the claims, we're just seeing more expense related to the claims that we're seeing. We're actually seeing a reduction in high cost claims for this particular year.
Have we seen a greater utilization of the high deductible health plan at all? Or are we still kind of about the same percentage of who's selecting what plans?
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, if I heard the question correctly, it's almost an equal split between the high deductible plan and the PPO plan.
Okay. I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do as far as wellness programs or something, additional education programs, things like that, to hold the cost. Obviously, this is a good recommendation for this year. I mean, it is going up as things that we can't control, but how well our population is or how well they understand our plans is something we can control. Do we need to work in that area? Or are we good? Because I know in the past we had some robust plans.
I'm sorry, President Carver, Ms. Fisher, I think we do have a very robust plan, and it's one of actually Dr. Finch's goals this year is to work on the engagement. Just a shout out to Ms. Moffett and her team for the Well Styles program that they roll out for our employees. And as is noted here, it's not only just for our employees, but we also have non-benefited employees that participate in our wellness program. That helps us with some of the challenges and some of the other things to help engagement of our employees. So we don't necessarily maybe see a direct impact in our claims experience for non-benefit employees because they're not receiving benefits from us, but we can reach a greater population to be able to get better engagement of our employees and the non-benefited employees involved in the activities to help everybody be healthier.
Good, thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you for all you do, Mr. Magruder. Appreciate you. Moving on to preview item 8D, Ms. Moffett.
Good evening again, President Carver, governing board members. What we're bringing to you tonight is a memorandum of understanding for our negotiated agreement, our certified group. So it has been a bit since we have jointly brought forward an MOU to the board. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time to explain to you what an MOU is for us in this process, and then explain to you what this particular proposal means. So first off, annually, we bring language forward to you through our language negotiation process. What we'll bring to you is what we call a tentative agreement, and that is typically done in the month of May, sometimes in the beginning of June. What we're doing in that agreement is making language changes, proposed language changes that would become permanent if the governing board were to approve them. That is not what this is. This is permitting us to deviate from language for a period of time. And so this proposal that you see here is not to suggest that this would become permanent in nature by any means, but it is only proposed for the staffing cycle of the 25-26 school year. So let me tell you how that works. When the finance department runs what we call the gold book, that was really maybe what Ms. Fisher was referencing earlier in our meeting. When we begin with the budget in the fall for the following year, we look at staffing first. So they're running those staffing sheets and budget books, and then after they send them over to us, we review them. When they run the numbers, they run them on the numbers that you see here, the proposed numbers. We have done that well beyond the decade that I have been in human resources. When I was a principal in Deer Valley, that number began when we were in budget constraints. They still run them that way. We adjust staffing, though, based on the trends that we might see, and most of those adjustments occur late spring and also into the early fall. So what this means if the board were to adopt this MOU for the 25-26 school year. When you look at kindergarten, for example, the certified manual currently states that kindergarten classrooms max at 26, and then after each section at a grade level. So for example, if there are 3 teachers in kindergarten and all 3 teachers have 26 students, and then one of them gets a 27th student, we then look and begin to adjust staffing. That comes not always in the form of a teacher. Sometimes it comes in the form of an aide, but we will always address it. In this case, what we're proposing is that we would begin to address it at 26. At 26, we would begin to address it at 27. Implications. If you're currently wondering, what does this look like for us right now? Running these numbers at 27, 28, in other words, 1 student in each of those levels, 5 sections are impacted right now. Out of the, I should have come with the total number that we have, but we have 42 schools, and right now 5 are impacted. That I don't know what the I don't know what the fall will hold. The fall is really when we begin adjusting a lot of staffing. July 2. I should be clear about that too. We're really looking at staffing all the time, but we're making more concrete decisions at the end of July as we're preparing to come in. We make decisions regarding staffing when we look at open enrollment wait lists and whether or not we can allow those students to come in because we're going to add an additional section. But the fall is when we begin surplus. If you've been with us for a bit, you are aware of what that process looks like. So what this would mean for fall is that those sections, for example, that are impacted that we see right now, we would not be adjusting the staffing for those 5. If the board were not to approve this, then we would be adjusting those sections. I can answer questions if that is not very clear.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Yes. How does the teachers union affect us? Have the kindergarten teachers been asked? 27's a lot. And I know it's not till it's 27, 28, but is there a way to manipulate the numbers to add a student in like 4th grade? Because adding one more kiddo in a 4th grade class is not the same as adding one more kiddo in a kindergarten 1st grade class where reading is so important. And the more kids you have, the harder it is to get to all of them.
Vice President Pack, if I'm understanding your question, you're suggesting that perhaps we leave kindergarten at 26 and we adjust the other grade level. Is that your ask?
That's a possibility, but
Okay.
just really looking at kindergarten first, those crucial years for reading and making those class sizes larger. I always say make classes smaller if you want higher grades, smaller classes.
Okay.
So has the teachers union
Oh yes, this is part of our negotiated process. So again, this is how we have staffed for over a decade when it comes to spring staffing for the upcoming year. So we are currently following what we normally follow. And our Teachers Association is familiar with that process. And they are part of this process as well in developing an MOU. So the president, Kelly Fisher, and I crafted this together. And then we shared it with our NST language team. And then it came here, which is really the normal MOU process.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Fisher?
Prior to taking this leap, did we look at any other areas so that we wouldn't have to take this leap? Because that is a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids in a classroom with a teacher, even if they have para support or an aide support.
Ms. Fisher, I don't know if your question is specific to staffing or if it's more global, but I can share with you the reason I shared that it's only 5 sections. That is, right now, that's very minimal impact. The reductions that we're seeing in the budget are total enrollment. And our total enrollment, as the board knows, you see the enrollment report on a regular basis is down. So when we're readjusting our staffing for the next year, we're seeing the FTE reduction just with not because of this new staffing standard that we're proposing. It's based off of even the current certified manual staffing standard that we're seeing that FTE savings.
So when you say it's only 5 related to kindergarten or 5 related overall?
Hang tight.
I can help out here too. While she's looking for that, the student to teacher ratio in Deer Valley is lower than our peers, and has been historically. What that means is a student to teacher ratio in New River might be different than Mountain Ridge High School. So the reason why she's saying only 5 would be impacted, it was probably the 5 largest elementaries that we have. That would be logical. So that concept is she's talking about the global and the impact per actual kindergarten classes. If we ran this exact same number today, it would impact 5 schools or 5 sections, probably is what she's referring to. But our student to teacher ratio is good and has always been good, but obviously with not passing the bond and the override, the variables in the equation have changed.
Our
And that's why we have
student-to-teacher
to-
ratio is unrealistic. Because you may have a teacher who has a special education class with 4 kids, and then you have another teacher who has a 4th grade class with 34 kids. Their average is great. Not so much for the teacher that has the 34 kids. So looking at it as an average, I'm sorry, is very difficult for the teacher who's at the top.
Certainly, it feels very different to be in many classrooms that we have across our system, and anyone. It's all public information and it's posted regularly, but
Right.
you can look at the total amount at that grade level and divide it by the sections that are assigned there, and you'll see that we do have many classrooms across our system that are quite low, medium, and then some that are on the higher range. Specific to your question, right now, the landscape, and disclaimer, it can change based on open enrollment and the changes that we make. So I could continue to update you as the weeks go by, should you be interested. But it looks like there would be a 2nd grade is impacted at one of our locations, a 5th grade, a 3rd grade at another location, and a 3rd grade at another location.
But we're not talking about a significant bump.
A significant what, pardon me?
A significant amount that's going to be impacted, because originally you said 5, so now you just named off about maybe 5 more. So we're still talking about
No. Those are the 5 I'm referencing.
Oh, those are the 5.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to know that like you said, this is temporary. Is this a 1 year?
1 year.
Or is this changed to language?
No, it does not go into language. We would have to get your authorization to do so. And this is for preview, so there's time for me to answer more questions as well.
I would like to talk to some of the teachers that I know, and I would like to get their personal feedback, so that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I guess just my only thought on this is you mentioned that yourself and DVEA President Kelly Fisher came up with this, so the teachers are in agreement, or at least you're speaking for the association when you say this. And the reality of it is, we're talking about 5 classrooms across 42 schools, right? And all we can go off of is average when we talk about student to teacher ratio, because the size of our district, we go through a natural evolution of schools that are busting at the seams and schools that have a hard seats. So when we're trying to figure out how many kids we have per classroom, all we can go by is the average. We have those classes, 5, that would be affected by allowing the placement of 1 additional child in each class. Do we know what that savings looks like to do that? Because it's a very small number that would be affected. I assume that there's a dollar associated with this that we're trying to recoup.
Do you want me to answer that question?
If
or
you have
just
that
looking-
information, sure.
Oh.
Approximately $4,000,
Okay.
$375,000 to $400,000 for those 5 sections.
So that's a significant amount of money for, I mean, it's unfortunate for those 5 classes, but I mean, we're trying to find $20 million, right? So I just think it's important for everybody to understand the lens through which you're looking at things. Yes, it's frustrating to think about 34 kids in class or 27 kids in class. We don't have that across 42 schools. We have that in 5 instances that we're looking at allowing. And in some of these cases, by allowing that additional child, we're actually going to receive more open enrollment, which helps offset some of the loss of enrollment that we have, right? I mean, am I tracking right with the thought process here? Yes? No? Maybe?
You are correct.
Thank you. Okay. Appreciate it, Ms. Moffitt. Anybody else? No? Okay. I believe that moves us to call to the public.
I'd like to ask Adrian Orrock, Julie Gore and Cassandra Palmer to approach the microphone. And I've already read the admonition, so please be mindful of that. And please state your name before you speak.
Hello. Nope, this one. Is this working? Oh, there we go. Hi, board. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. It's exciting.
Please state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Adrienne Orok. Thank you for supporting all of our students and staff for all that you do. I am a parent to 2 kids currently enrolled at Gavilan Peak in the Mandarin program. So I'm here representing some of the parents who would like to ask and encourage you to seek a study session with the district about this issue so we can get some more information, some community feedback to keep this Mandarin program going for our children in the future. I understand that budget decisions must be made within that given time frame that was mentioned tonight, and so I do encourage a study session to be scheduled as soon as possible so that we can see what we can do to keep our program running next year. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Julie Gore, and I'm here to talk about the Mandarin Immersion Program at Gavilan Peak as well. I'm a parent of a current kindergartner at Gavilan Peak, Atticus Gore, who is in the program. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. To give you a quick background on our journey to Gavilan Peak, it starts with Atticus being 2.5 years old and diagnosed with apraxia of speech. For those who don't know, that's a neurological disorder that affects the brain's ability to plan the sequence of movements needed for that speech. We initially chose Gavilan Peak due to its amazing developmental preschool, which included supplemental speech therapy in school while he had supporting his private speech therapy endeavors outside of the school environment. He completed 2 years of this program, and it was an invaluable experience for him that not only improved his speech and communication skills, but prepared him for the next stages of his education. His confidence blossomed. Our decision to pick kindergarten in Anthem, like most families, was one filled with great thought, research, and fortunately for our family, options. The short of the long of it for us was we chose Gavilan Peak over Anthem Prep, Diamond Canyon, and Creative Castle solely for the Mandarin program. The program was highly recommended for Atticus by the Gavilan Peak staff to not only challenge him intellectually, but due to his speech. It would be an understatement to say we are thrilled with our decision and experience thus far in the Mandarin program. His teacher, Mrs. Ma, or Mala Shah, is amazing, and I'm impressed with Atticus's ability to speak Mandarin already. It is his absolute favorite part of kindergarten, hands down, and his favorite thing to show off to my friends, myself, and his grandparents. He comes home enthusiastic, trying to teach me what he has learned, often to a failure. And his confidence, especially with his speech, is at an all-time high because of the program. I am not going to plead the benefits of an immersion program, as you all are fully aware. That is why there is one at Gavilan Peak. But I am going to express a few of my concerns over phasing Gavilan Peaks out. The first is the loss of future opportunities for Deer Valley School District's upcoming youth to benefit from an immersion program. The second is the sense of community within families that have multiple siblings and future siblings possibly in the program. And by this I mean siblings being able to speak and share the Chinese culture amongst themselves and their friends. And the third, a general loss for the Deer Valley School District community to have exposure to that Chinese culture and learn an invaluable skill set such as speaking another language. Lastly, besides sharing our family's personal positive impact story of the Gavilan Peak Manager Program with you all, I'm here to urge the district to please take into action the board's recommendation and schedule a public study session of the program. Thank you for your time. I made it.
Hello, my name is Cassie Palmer. I'm a junior at Boulder Creek High School, and I'm also here to speak on behalf of the Gavilan Peak Mandarin Program. I started in the Gavilan Peak Mandarin Program as a kindergartner, and I just wanted to talk about how grateful I am for all the opportunities provided from the program. Since being in the program, I've been given the opportunity to participate in Mandarin speech competitions since kindergarten. And these speech competitions have not only given me public speaking skills, but have also given me countless opportunities. In high school, we participate in both the Arizona speech competition and the national speech competition, which Gavilan Peak Mandarin program students have won both last year, my freshman year, and this year. So that shows how incredible the program has been for students and their public speaking skills. I also wanted to speak about the job opportunities and the real world opportunities that the Mandarin program has prepared us for. I live in Anthem, Arizona, where almost any job is looking for people who can speak Mandarin because of the new TSMC plant. They need people who are able to communicate effectively with new Taiwanese immigrants. Furthermore, those who are in engineering programs at Boulder Creek and can speak Chinese are very well experienced and can get a job at TSMC right out of high school because of it. So that shows how speaking Chinese and being a part of the Mandarin program has given us real world opportunities. Being a part of the Gavilan Peak Mandarin program and being able to continue speaking Chinese in high school has truly been a gift, and I'd really like you to take into careful consideration the phasing out of the program because it has given me countless opportunities, and I hope it can give future students the same opportunities. Thank you.
If I can please have Madeline Lashish, Avery Shuey, Evan Hahn, and Kirsten Dewey approach the microphone. Same admonition, and also please state your name before you speak.
Hi everyone, my name is Maddie Losich. I'm a junior at Boulder Creek High School, and I'm the president of the Mandarin National Honor Society. And today I'm here to speak to you about the phasing out of the Mandarin immersion program that our district offers. So I've been studying Mandarin language and culture for 12 years, and my experience in the Mandarin program at Gavilan Peak and Boulder Creek has provided me with countless opportunities. However, the most valuable takeaway from this program is the incredible sense of community it has built for me. Gavilan Peak fosters a truly unique atmosphere that wouldn't be possible without the Mandarin program. This unique program gives students and their families the opportunity to experience Chinese culture through festivals, activities, speech competitions, and more. Growing up learning a second language alongside my classmates and teachers has created an unbreakable bond between us. We have grown together using our Mandarin skills to collaborate on bigger and exciting projects. At my high school, I am in the highest level Mandarin capstone class. My classmates and I, many of whom I have studied Mandarin with for over a decade, have developed both strong language skills and a close bond. This connection allows us to collaborate on large projects such as the Mandarin Festival we recently hosted at our school. This festival was our first event and over 400 people attended. And obviously these language skills help us during school, but they're also going to give us so many more opportunities after, while applying for colleges and after work experiences. And additionally, my Mandarin skills have connected me with an amazing community beyond the classroom. With the growing number of Taiwanese residents in North Phoenix, our program has the unique opportunity to collaborate and communicate with Taiwanese students at Boulder Creek, Mountain Ridge High School, and O'Connor High School. Without Mandarin, Gavilan Peak wouldn't have the distinctive environment that makes it so special, and students wouldn't have access to the incredible opportunities both during their studies and after high school like I did. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. Hi, everybody. My name's Avery Shuey, and I'm currently a senior at Boulder Creek, and I'm here to advocate for Gavilan Peak's Mandarin Immersion program by sharing my own personal story and experience with it. So I was born in Georgia, moved to Florida, moved to South Carolina, all prior to second grade. And by second grade, we moved to Arizona for one sole reason, and it was just for Gavilan Peak's Mandarin Immersion program. And I know that sounds really extreme, and my second grade self thought it was as well, considering our entire family, my dad's business is on the East Coast. But over the years, I've gotten to understand the importance of Mandarin and how much it's impacted my life and the people around me's life. And it's truly a blessing that my parents have moved me out to Arizona just for Mandarin immersion. So Mandarin is a language that allowed me to communicate with people that I previously wouldn't have been able to, and has introduced me to a culture that is completely different than our own and opens you up to so many more opportunities and experiences that you wouldn't get if you didn't learn Mandarin. So it's been amazing for me, and it's something that I've carried into high school as well. As I founded our Mandarin National Honor Society, I've gotten to tutor people or kids in Mandarin, which has been an awesome opportunity. And I even got the chance to travel to China. So it's just all been a part of my life, and it's all been amazing, and I love it. And it's such an interesting language. It's something that is so fun to learn and can connect you with so many new opportunities and experiences. And so I obviously knew that this turned into a passion of mine, and it was a very unexpected passion as well. And it's been something I wanted to carry into my professional life as well. And I decided I'm going to be majoring in dual majoring, it's complicated, international business at the University of Tennessee with a concentration in, surprise, Chinese. And then I'm going to be hopefully obtaining my MBA at the University of South Carolina with, again, concentration in Chinese. And it's just crazy to think that my second grade self would have never even been able to know about these opportunities if we haven't moved out and participated in Gavilan Peak's Mandarin Immersion program. And I would hate for those kind of opportunities to be taken away from other students just like me who still haven't found their passion. And eventually we'll hopefully get to find it in Mandarin. So I hope you guys take your time to consider not phasing it out from Gavilan Peak, because it truly is something that's amazing. So thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Evan Hahn, and I'm also speaking on the behalf of Gavilan Peak's Mandarin. Good evening, members of the board, esteemed faculty, and community members. I began learning my Mandarin experience in first grade, similar to my other. And tonight I stand before you talking about my personal story and how to emphasize how the Mandarin program at Gavilan Peak fosters academic excellence, leadership, and cultural connection, qualities that make us more well-rounded students and global citizens for the future. For me, learning Mandarin was more than just mastering the language. It allowed me to have a relationship with my grandparents. Growing up in an English-speaking household, I had no foundation in another language. But my father, recognizing the importance of my Taiwanese heritage, wanted me to have the ability to communicate with my grandparents and other relatives. Because of this, instead of attending schools like Sunset Ridge, Sonoran Foothills, or Norterra Canyon, which are all much closer to where I live, I was enrolled at the Mandarin Immersion program at Gavilan Peak. From an early age, my classmates and I weren't just learning a language, we were learning in a language. Science, history, and math were all taught in Mandarin, challenging us to think critically, adapt quickly, and develop problem-solving skills beyond the average elementary school student. This immersion experience cultivated resilience in us that carried us over into middle school, high school, and beyond. By the time we reached high school, we weren't just prepared for advanced coursework, we excelled in it. Many of us enrolled in AP and honors classes, took on leadership roles, and performed at the highest level in varsity sports. The impact of this program is undeniable. In 2022, two former Gavilan Peak students, Avery Shuey and Kate Crampton, founded the Mandarin National Honor Society with around 20 students. Since then, me and Maddie have led this program to nearly double to 50 students. And the most compelling part is that 41 of those students are from Gavilan Peak's Mandarin Immersion program. Beyond just Mandarin, graduates of this program are leaders across various disciplines. We serve in student government, National Honor Society, DECA, engineering, biomed, World Cultures Club, the list goes on and on. We're varsity athletes, club presidents, and students who are making an impact beyond the classroom. The skills we develop, discipline, adaptability, perseverance, were not just a byproduct of hard work. They were a direct result of the foundation laid by the Gavilan Peak Mandarin Immersion program. Therefore, I ask for many of you guys to allow us to continue the Mandarin Immersion program at Gavilan Peak and give us the opportunities and other children to have the opportunities that propelled so many of us forward, including Sage Solers majoring in the Mandarin program at University of Notre Dame, Anya Basana at Cornell University, the Shane Felder twins studying Chinese literature, and Miles Wilson, who is currently employed at the Taiwanese Semiconductor in Arizona, straight out of college. Thank you very much for your time, as I hope that you guys consider to continue the Mandarin Immersion program at Gatlin Peak.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Dewey. Good evening, President Carver, Dr. Finch, and members of the board. So I've introduced myself to some of you before, but I wanted to bring a face to the name who's been sending you emails this year. I'm a parent of 2 kids at Las Brisas, a 5th grader and a 2nd grader. I'm also the PTSA president. This is my 4th year serving as the president. And today I'm speaking to you because for over 5 months, our principal, Mrs. Mara Kurash, has been on administrative leave. That 5 months is since mid-September. Mrs. Kurash is a strong female leader that prioritizes being visible in the community and building relationships with students at our school. She is the reason that many families are at our school because of her vision for our education. She has done an incredible job rebuilding after we lost such a large percentage of students when we were rezoned with the build of Inspiration Mountain. For those of you who don't know, our school had the largest impact when Inspiration Mountain was built, and the most students went from our school to Inspiration Mountain. Mrs. Kurash's absence has caused many parents to lose confidence in the district's ability to support our school, resulting in parents exploring other options for their students' education, mostly at nearby charter and private schools outside of our incredible Deer Valley School District. Through my recent emails, I was shocked to learn that not even our governing board members know the details of Mrs. Kurash's leave. I would like to ask the governing board to provide oversight and accountability. This is not the first time a principal from Las Brisas has been removed from campus with little communication to the community. I have concerns about why she was put on leave and why it is still ongoing 5 months later. In light of her recent resignation for the 25-26 school year, which I'm sure stems from the current situation she's dealing with, I hope to see Mrs. Kurash return to finish this school year and to give Las Brisas an opportunity to have a smooth transition for our new principal. Thank you for your time. I hope you will consider providing that oversight and accountability.
Governing board reports. Mr. Botfeld? I'm sorry, one more time, sir. No report?
No report.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Fisher?
As I stated in the last meeting, my reports will all be in writing and will be provided to the governing board. I just sent the email with the full report. I continue to get concerns from the community regarding what we're going to be doing for the budget. I sent this out. I sent out all the district surveys, but the results don't seem to match the surveys. Per the Friday update, the budget considerations being made without input from the board or the community. HB 2610 has passed through its first stages. This bill will hold the superintendents accountable as well as board members when there are financial problems. It is important that the board do their duty and set the direction of the district. I am again requesting a study session on the budget, all the budget, including the Mandarin program and any other program that's being cut. That's number one. Number two, it's important that we don't simply ignore the direction the president is taking regarding funding and our districts. We received the Dear Colleague letter regarding DEI, yet per the Friday update, The district doesn't intend on changing anything and will simply wait out the next administration or change. If needed, the attorney will be used. Then there's a lot about CRT, and it's the same story that's been told over and over and over again, that a board member dug for 8 months and found nothing. The truth is that there were 3 meetings, 3/2 of 21, 5/25 of 21, and 7/13 of 21, where community members brought forward a concern over CRT, and it was found that one individual was in fact teaching CRT, and it was addressed by our administration as appropriate. What's not appropriate is the spin that's been put out since. I request that we hold an executive session. I requested this before by email, but I am requesting it again regarding personnel concerns. I am now publicly making the same request as the first one has not been considered. We may only supervise one employee as the board, but we are responsible for all employees. The concerns that have been made, that all board members have been made aware of, are significant in nature. I am asking that we have an executive meeting, executive session, to discuss our responsibility in this. I've attached to the update that I sent my spreadsheet of requests, the dates the requests were made, any progress. I've also attached our policy on requesting agenda items, and I've attached the entire HB 2610, including the updates for the board. We have an actual duty. We're not just figureheads. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Dr. Pack?
First off, I want to send out my condolences and thoughts to the family of Barbara Surloff. Those of you that are in the district a long time know that she passed, and she was such a force in the community and touched so many lives, teaching drama at Deer Valley High School and many other classes. So prayers to her and her family. She was a great educator. So I had the opportunity to start school visits, which is one of my favorite parts of being on the board so far. I got to visit the Traditional Academy at Bel Air, and I was really impressed with how Principal Fitzsimmons is building community with her once-a-week rally, and they celebrate students, their birthdays, and their typing competition awards, and just a really neat vibe at that school. So that was exciting. I hope to go back there again because I really liked it. I did also go visit Greenbrier, and I got to see how that school really builds teamwork. I personally witnessed a little kiddo that was struggling, took a little break, came back, and later in the day, because I was there a few hours, was back and engaged in his classes. And so shout out to those 2 schools. I also have booked 3 more schools, one of them my alma mater, Deer Valley, so I'm excited to stomp around my old high school. And I've also confirmed a meeting with Kelly Fisher for DVA, and I'm so excited. Thank you for the invite. I'm excited to join you on March 4th. I've answered many emails. I've tried to keep up with emails. There's a lot of emails. And I've done a Zoom meeting with for an agenda review with Dr. Finch and Mr. Carver. I do that during my lunchtime on Zoom, so thank you for accommodating me. I did request at my last board meeting to have a study session to talk about our policies and maybe to polish them up, update them, make them more specific. During the agenda review, I was inquiring about that, and Mr. Carver asked that I send an email about that, which I did on 2/24. I know that was yesterday. And so I'm asking again just to have a review of policy, to be specific, Deer Valley DVUSD Governing Board Policy BEDB, the agenda, and 2 points on that. One of them was the original request about reports. There's been a reference made to a gentleman's agreement with past board members regarding the length of time allowed for board member reports. And I respectfully request that we have a discussion on that to either amend it or to better understand it and to reflect a 5-minute time that's apparently been placed and is ticking away right now. for each board member. And so that way the previous informal agreement is in policy if it wasn't agreed for new members and for members going forward. In this way, the policy can be understood and followed by all current and future board members. I would also like to talk about the quote on the policy is, unless changed by a majority vote of board members present at a meeting, the order of business will be as follows. And one of the items is item H, which is information and discussion. And the discussion items I would ask to be brought back so we could have some open dialogue amongst the board so we can conversate without violating open meeting law. I know Mr. Boutfeld has talked about, can we just sit down and talk about it? Well, if we bring discussion item back, of course, we don't want to stay past 10, and it's now 10. But if we had discussion item back, we could have some time to have some open dialogue amongst us without the open meeting law violation concerns. And I feel this would benefit our board working together, which would benefit the greater school community. Thank you.
I will second your requests.
So for my board report, just wanted to let the community know about the Spring Media Day that we had this last weekend. If you're not aware of it, we do a Winter Media Day and a Spring Media Day for all the different sports teams here at the district office. The sports teams from the 5 different high schools come through in a round robin fashion, and they get to do some interviews with some of the local news stations in some cases, and sometimes with the Arizona Interscholastic Association and some of the local high schools. I wanted to point out that, to my point earlier, that the biggest impact that we can make on our budgetary decisions is community involvement. And I want to reference specifically how the survey pointed out that we should get rid of extracurriculars. Specifically, it pointed out the Mandarin Immersion Program. Now, I'm not for that, but my point is 1,600 people responded, and the majority of them thought that we should. Well, we've now had almost 20 people in the last 2 meetings come in and speak very passionately about why we should have it. And this is my point, is that we sit up here from the dais and we say the majority and all and many, and it's really just the people that are specifically contacting us. It's not the majority of the 6 figures worth of people that live in our school district that have a voice. And so again, appealing to the community, use the emails, reach out, be respectful in your communication. We're not here to make everybody's life miserable. We're here to try to do the community's bidding as long as it's legal and as long as it's prudent, right? And so please get involved, get educated about the processes, and give us your opinion so that we can make educated decisions. Without getting too much into the weeds, we have policies out there, and I've heard the request for study sessions from Gavilan Peak folks. Most folks by now that are interested in the Gavilan Peak situation are aware of the group that came at the last meeting, stayed around after the meeting, and wanted to continue discussing. And Dr. Finch and I had a impromptu conversation with them and basically just shared that the point of the kindergarten class being removed at Gavilan Peak was the fact that there were only 2 kids enrolled for next year. It wasn't a matter of trying to remove something that is a flagship of the district. It was simple economics. And so the conversation with them was just simply, if you don't want Mandarin Immersion to go away in the kindergarten, then we need 23 kids in the seats. Now, I've heard people say, well, there's no kindergarten class with 23 students. We just saw the memorandum of understanding, and that currently 26 is the acceptable number to have in a classroom. So again, it's about education, right? There's people out there thinking that we're not listening, people out there thinking that we're not caring. I'm not opposed to having a study session to discuss it more so that the community can have a bigger voice about it, but I need people to know all the things on that they might not be aware of, okay? And then some of the other study sessions that have been asked for, when we have a preview item, we discuss it. When it comes back for an action item, we discuss it. So we only ever not discuss something when it comes back around the second time and it's on the consent. Tonight, everybody saw how that works. If something comes up on the consent agenda, that you want to discuss, you make a motion to amend the agenda, and we pull it off for discussion. These are business meetings, and this is literally the longest meeting that we've had in almost 2 years, because we wanted everybody to feel like their voice was heard. But at the end of the day, this is a business meeting, and we need to be about the business of the district. There's ample opportunity and time for these board members to ask their questions before we come so that we're prepared. And if we need to actually have a study session and sit down for another hour and a half or 2 hours to discuss things, by all means, that's a tool that we have at our disposal. But let's just not throw it out there for the sake of making a noise and making it look like we're asking for something important. Let's make sure that we're actually getting a good return on our investment for the community, for the administration, and for the board that has to come and spend the time to do that. I'm all for study sessions and work sessions. And to the point of the executive session that was asked for, please make sure in the email that you're sending requesting that you're citing one of the 8 points that's in Arizona statute that allows us to require or ask for an executive session. We can't just have one because we don't want to talk out in the public. It's a law and we follow it. And that's all I have for tonight. Dr. Finch?
Well, thanks to Mr. Carver. I will give an update. I want to thank the students. Hopefully they'll watch this tomorrow. They have to get up for school tomorrow, so they didn't get a chance to hear this. But the good news is, from an update perspective, Mr. Carver mentioned that there was 2 students enrolled. We met with the parents the last board meeting for about 45 minutes. They asked for a declaration from the district office that we were going to keep it going if they would find students. I gave them that. It's posted on the Gavilan Peak website under frequently asked questions on the main page. And we mentioned here as well that we're looking for 23 students for next year to keep the program going. We had 9 this year, and we have 2 currently enrolled for next year. So the good news is they've already quadrupled it. And so they're doing their homework. They're knocking on doors, making phone calls, and starting to get more kindergartners enrolled. And so we have until next year to hopefully reel in those students. So they're doing their job. Good job. And continue to pass the message. Because that's why we have study sessions, is to learn more information or to figure out a solution. We know what the solution is. We just meet more kids. So we will continue to hit that drum, continue to talk about it in your opportunities around the community. It is an amazing program, and obviously it's had impact on many students throughout the years. I also want to mention our athletics is in full throat. We are, I think the Boulder Creek, or the Ridge girls are in 6A. I think they're playing right now. Hopefully they won tonight. O'Connor girls are in 6A hoops. The Boulder Creek boys and O'Connor Eagles are in the open, and they may end up playing each other at the end of this journey. They continue to win. If you want a chance to come see that, we've been hosting a lot of them, and so I think the next 2 we might be away. One I think is at Sunny Slope. I think it's Boulder Creek, and O'Connor is Basha, I believe, away. So if you want to catch those, are Friday at 7. Those will be packed gyms. Deer Valley boys, they lost to Basha by 2, and they are a 4A team playing up. And obviously, so they moved down to the 4A bracket, and they play on Friday as well. So a lot of our teams playing above what they have in our past history. So congratulations to all the students that are involved in that. It is spring sports time. That means beach volleyball, tennis, track, baseball, softball. All of those things are going starting now. So there's always something to do and something to watch in this district at the middle school and high school levels. Obviously our choirs, and if you've been following on social media, choirs, bands, color guards, those are all having their big plays or big events that they host for the winter. Those are all coming together right now. So if you want to know what's going on, go to our website. We have all those events available to, and you definitely want to see some of our productions. They're as good as anything you would pay for at the professional level. They're do a very nice job. We have a student summit coming up That's the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council Summit. That's our leadership summit for the year. And about 80 kids from our district put that together. And it will be next week, I think March 6th. Yeah, March 6th at Berry Goldwater High School. About 300 to 350 kids will show up from around the district to learn about leadership from our student leaders. So if you want to catch that, it runs about 9 to 1-ish as a board member. If you want to come see that, you don't want to miss it. It's quite the spectacle. And last but not least, just found out yesterday, I believe, we picked up 3 more A+ School of Excellence awards, which I consider the creme de la creme award for a school to get, because those are outside eyes that come and measure what you're doing. Stetson Hills, Highland Lakes, and Terramar. Congratulations to those schools for winning the A+ award, and that over 50% of our schools are currently A+, so pretty exciting. If Deer Valley didn't win it, it's probably because we didn't apply or didn't know about it. We pretty much win everything. Thanks.
Future governing board meeting dates are on the website. Please feel free to check it for your reference. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. 10:10.
Oh, you're not going to get a secondary email from me.